I forwarded it to you, Barbie, so you can look
You're
at it
on.
when you get home.
You're on.
We're on.
Good evening and welcome to the Georgetown School Committee meeting of Thursday, June 9th, 2016. If we could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is this your water, man?
It is.
Okay, before we begin with the full agenda, we will approve minutes, so the chair will entertain a motion to approve regular session minutes of May 28th, 2016, and acceptance of warrants 48P16 and 51V16.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we don't have our student representative anymore because she graduated.
Yes, she did.
So we can maybe talk a little bit about the graduation ceremony that took place last Saturday, which was beautiful.
It was.
Outside, and the day really couldn't have been any better. It was actually very hot
It got hot.
for those sitting on the stage in black.
It did, it got hot.
But it really was a beautiful day, and the speeches were great. The kids did a great job. They really seemed pleased. A lot of them got emotional. I
Speeches were
noticed.
fantastic,
Yeah,
very memorable.
yeah. They're gonna do
Cartwheel,
great.
handspring or two.
Or two.
I
always want
missed
one.
that. Peter said, we just flipped off the stage.
Yeah, yeah. They seemed excited, but I really wish this class the very best. I'm sure that they'll all make us proud.
Amazing classes.
Yeah.
So much talent, so much. They have very bright futures, I'm sure.
Yeah, we've
Very
been
confident in
lucky
that.
with our graduating class, but it was great, and it was so nice to see everybody there. So thank you guys for taking the time to come out, which is always very nice. And there were a lot of people in the audience. It was good.
That's what's nice about when it's outside, because then you don't have to restrict any tickets, and people can bring all their family, and
Everybody
it's
can
just more comfortable.
Yeah, it was nice. But I'm sure the school seems a little quiet without 100.
Peter, does the school seem a little quiet without the seniors?
All right, up for it.
There are all kinds of things going on, celebrations and
Well, it is a very busy time of year for everybody.
Well, they just had the awards.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the
Middle
awards
school
and
and
high
high
school.
school, right. And then they have the 8th grade social tomorrow night. I know Pembroke is having
Their play tomorrow.
play.
Peter,
No, Annie.
Annie.
Yeah, so it's
Barry's
a lot
one of the
excitement.
directors.
Wow.
It's a lot of excitement.
you're doing a good job.
They're
I'm sure, that's always a great event, I love that, so that's great.
Yeah, I'm going tomorrow night,
Oh,
so.
that's nice. Are you sure you don't want to go, like, maybe during the day?
Well, but
Reaction space.
actually tomorrow morning is preschool celebration grove.
So, yes, tomorrow's preschool.
Oh, so that's good, I hope the weather's good for that. Is that outdoors?
No, indoors.
That's indoors.
So it's like they go to the classrooms and visit. It's really nice.
That's good. It's busy. It's definitely very.
all good, though.
Busy time. It is all good. Is there anyone here from the public that would like to talk to us about anything on the agenda? Okay. We are going to, talk about, I'm looking at this, I'm like, do we want it?
Maybe we should go to the technology one first, and then we can always go.
Yeah, we'll
can-
do that.
yeah, 'cause
The
these guys are
technology
here,
plan
so.
Review, which was very
I
interesting.
was so impressed.
You guys want to come up?
It was long.
A lot.
Guys, come on up.
Oh, sure, you got to do it for free, huh?
Come on up to the table.
No problem, right?
I wasn't sure which one it was.
Otherwise, we'll not beat the end.
So. Hi.
Good evening. Thank you for coming.
Yes, these guys are taking the time out of their evening to come up and
Yes, I appreciate that.
sit up with us, so. everybody got the thing in the packet.
Yeah, we do.
Yes.
Been a busy year.
Let's see.
And almost everything we set out to do this year, we got done. So there's a few things we haven't, but for the most part, we moved along pretty good. Pembroke's in great shape with all their technology. That seems to be, has evened out nicely. We've done all the connections for for Alice so that they now have, you can go use the telephones to get through on the PA. We've gotten all the wireless all adjusted. We're starting to work on finishing up some of the things, the microphones and in the cafetorium, of course, that are being fixed. They're being addressed. That's part of the issues with the construction project. So
Right,
that's being
gonna be
taken care
fixed
of.
after June 23rd.
Yes, yeah, yeah. They couldn't come in during the school. It's just, that's too
Yeah,
much of
it's
a
going
disruption.
from
So for the most
analog.
part, they work, but they do have a lot of little other odds and ends to fix up. So that's going very well.
So
So,
that should be all, once they make the change
yes.
over to the digital, it should be
I don't know if it's a digital issue or just that they have to readjust the microphones.
Okay.
I don't think
But
they have to
we're thinking
replace
that our
anything.
problems will be solved.
Yes, yes.
Good.
Yes, they
We're gonna
they
hold them
mentioned
to it.
Analog to digital at the
Yes.
school building committee meeting, so.
Yeah, I don't know if that's really the case or not. It just, I think it's just the way the thing was set up. They're redoing it a little bit and tweaking out here and there and everywhere. And some things weren't properly hooked up, so they are hooking them up properly now. So I would imagine that that's most of it. I don't think there's any big change they have to make as far as equipment is concerned. It's mostly getting the equipment that we have to work. So that's where that stands.
It's important.
Yeah, yeah.
So how is that gonna impact the play tomorrow night?
Our music teacher, Tyler Polston, has used it, we still have a lot of the equipment that we had from the other Pembroke, and he has done a fantastic job at getting everything to sound good.
So he's utilizing the old,
A mix of the old and
Old,
new.
new, yeah.
Yes,
Oh,
what works of the new stuff, he's using great, and what we had to supplement with the old stuff, he's done a great job
That's
doing that
great.
too.
And,
Yeah.
and
did the-
Elizabeth
good for him.
contacted Teddy Kostusik, and
Oh,
Teddy came
great.
over and
Yeah, he's
consulted
great,
as well. So, you
Teddy
know
can look
what?
at stuff and say, oh yeah, here's
That's
the
how it goes.
He consulted, and they,
Nice.
now, so they have some
Yeah.
microphones that hang from the ceiling to pick up the students' voices, so.
Oh, that's great.
I heard them
Better and
singing,
better.
it's.
Hard Knock Life.
Hard Knock Life at the end of the show, and I was in the office.
Yeah.
So so there,
It's working
there's,
really well.
there's definitely projection that you can,
that's great. Okay, good.
And Barry and Marion did a bang-up job of we did some PD a couple of weeks, about a month ago, and we've got everybody all excited about using Google Apps. So that part of the technology plan, at least the Pembroke side of it, is going very, very well. These two did an amazing job on their days that they did that training. They really did an excellent job.
It's great
And-
to utilize,
Yeah, yeah.
people within
Yeah.
for PD.
yes.
And I know Julie, we discussed that too, how great it is and how you really don't know what you have fully until you start, tapping, and it's great.
So people
we
start, they
appreciate that.
step up and move pretty good with it. And you did a program with the second and fourth grade?
I most enjoyed collaborating with second grade, fourth grade. Barry and I together took the animal project and we converted it to Google Slides, and they're used to Word. And so it's, they have to put a lot of faith in us, and we have to work with them in their classrooms, and they come to us, and we really collaborated and changed it and made it truly collaborative, and it's not just Word now. And it was great. And then they can use any device. So we're like, just sign out the iPads, sign out the MacBooks,
Yeah.
come to the lab. And it didn't matter which device we were using, all of the students could adapt and use that. And the teachers are learning as well. It
And the
worked
students are
extremely
far more
well.
adaptable than we are
Oh, yes,
sometimes.
no
Yeah, I was
question
gonna
They're
about
say,
right there.
I'm sure.
They're not afraid of it. We're more
Right,
afraid
we
than they
are.
are sometimes.
It's true.
So
Yeah,
the slides
you're
that
right.
the second grade celebration of growth had, is that what?
That was different.
Okay, that was
We did all about me slides.
Okay.
And that was the first time I did that. I did Google Slides with second grade, and I couldn't have done it without Barry's help. We had to get a guest account because they couldn't log in. It would take them 30 minutes to log in. So, but we did it so that Barry set it up so that we could click and log them in, and they just had to remember a password and get in, and it worked well, and they were so enthusiastic, and they came out so
Yeah, I saw
good.
them.
Then I learned how to get that on the lobby, which I had not done.
Yeah, that's great.
Which is quite a process. You have to convert them to PowerPoint, and then
And then it constantly
upload.
runs through
You
the.
put it on a
Yeah.
time, you set a
Yes.
time.
Yeah, you can
That's
rotate
great.
it through, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a media master list. So, but whatever ideas I come up with, Barry is there to help, and I'm like, Barry, and he's like, that is going to be a lot of work. He always says to me, and I'm like, that's okay, let's do it anyway. And we did, and the second grade one was a huge amount of work, but it was so worth it.
So where would you
nice.
view Google Slides? Like, if a child does something on a Google Slide,
It was,
how would we see it?
You can view it at home on your computer, you
Yeah.
can view it at home on an iPad, anything.
how?
If it's shaped,
We
right?
created a link.
Oh, like the Google, like
Yeah.
Mary's, like
Yeah.
Mary's.
Be on
Google.
We
Drive.
could create a link, stick it on a web page or in a post, whatever, and you can just click on the web, on the.
Can you print it out?
Okay.
Yeah, if you open it up and bring it up, and you want to print it out, you could certainly, a parent could do that, yes. Yeah,
You could certainly embed it on the website if
Yeah.
you wanted to.
Yeah.
yeah, but just easy to
Absolutely.
make the link, they can link right to
Yeah.
our Google Apps for a domain, they can see it, they can't edit it, but they can see it and they can print it.
Printing stuff.
Save a tree.
Yeah, we're trying not to print it, but you could have it, once you have that link, you have it on your cell phone, you go right anytime you want.
Right, well, the second grade teachers use their iPads and they projected it up on their
Airplane.
interactive
Right.
whiteboards. For the whole class, for all the
For
parents
the parents to
Yeah.
see, yeah.
Yeah.
Which was really nice.
Does the iPad cry a little when you open up Google Apps?
What?
Does the iPad
you know
cry
what it
a little
is? It's
when you
just
open up Google
different.
Apps?
No,
It's
no,
operates
because they have
differently.
native
It's
apps
fine.
now for Google Apps on the iPad. I mean, Apple wasn't gonna let that go away,
Why do
that
you
makes
ask
makes it
that?
more
Oh,
usable.
just because
It's Google and Apple.
Yeah.
They don't always play along.
Yeah.
Often they don't.
Yeah, everybody plays
They
along
do
with Google, they have to,
beautifully.
they don't have any choice. Because the Android market's so big, and in education, Google Apps is a very big domain. I mean, there's a lot of schools using it. And that's why any device is going to have a native app for Google Apps if they don't. If they don't, you can always use a browser, and every device has a browser, you can always browse to it. So it's really, there's a lot of flexibility. I mean, there's so much we can do with it. And it's safe, secure, and we can do so much that it just makes it so worthwhile to have it.
We did
That's great.
explain everything, a screencasting app that I got from a grant that I wrote, and every student made screencasting so they could record on the iPads. That was the first time I taught with iPads because I had a cart. That was very exciting, and we did Hour of Code. Even
Oh,
kindergartners
yes.
coded.
Yeah,
that was
K through
amazing.
six
Everybody did
coded.
that. That was
It
so
was
good.
amazing.
Can you tell me a little more about what is screencasting?
It's an app, and then you can. It looks on the surface like PowerPoint that they're creating slides, but they can record, so they can show me how they do division or something, and it's recording the steps, what they're writing, and what they're saying. But essentially, it's like a PowerPoint.
So it's a presentation.
Yeah.
It's a presentation tool, and they're really learning how to present, and I have them stand up at the smartboard and to actually present and not read your slides, but to present. Even third graders were
I
doing
think that's
that.
great. There's nothing
That
better
just to
than
have-
to
it's
teach
different.
It's the confidence to get up in
Yeah.
front of.
And if they don't want to, there's very few who don't in our district. They love getting up in front of the crowd, but occasionally there's one or two who don't. It's not about reading the slide, it's about projecting and slowing down and speaking loud and clear, and they're doing it. And so they are really
That's great.
shining. But the iPads and Hour Code, those
Yeah.
were good.
Has been huge
Yeah.
for
I
them.
can't imagine kindergarten doing that.
Oh, yeah.
They,
Phenomenal. They're
they started early enough.
Simplified.
The hour of code, it's very simple for them. They're just with Angry Birds, getting the bird from here to here. That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And they use it with arrows, so
But
it's
you have
very
to figure,
visual.
they have to figure out like
How to
how to
get
do
them
that.
Yeah, I have to figure out which way the arrow
And
is
they
going.
do.
It's-
So they,
yeah.
so
They
that
do.
they teach them a language, Barry, or?
No,
It's-
it's the way they do it is they just have to click. Okay, I want the bird to go that way, so I take the block that has that arrow and I put
It's
it
all
there and I
pictorial.
run it, and the bird
It's-
does what I ask.
It's all pictorial. Everything's pictorial. There's little blocks with arrows on it. You stick the block down where it goes. You hit play, and there's a cat, isn't it? The cat walks around. Walks
There's
that's
Angry
Scratch.
Bird.
Oh, it's Scratch,
That's
okay.
Scratch.
I saw that in one of the
But I
classes.
teach Scratch. I taught after school because it was so popular. I taught K&1 coding after school, and we used the Foos and Scratch Junior. And that was great. That's
How
the
many kids
cat.
did you have participate in that?
That was about a dozen
that's a
little
good group.
ones. And of course, Liz comes down,
Marquetti,
and
yeah.
she always has a group of about a dozen coders too, and she teaches them Scratch.
That's great.
And Lego Robotics was always coding.
Yeah, that was
you
always
know,
a big
so
hit with the kids.
And that, I have 1 or 2 classes a week in that after school. For 8 years, I've had that. And that's coding.
That's great.
They don't know they're doing it, but that's what it is. They're learning logic as they go along.
So one of the questions I had, like when we talked about so you had the training session to train most teachers on the system.
Yep.
Tell me the utilization that the teachers have with the technology. So how are they doing, everyday teachers using technology? Is it a daily thing, like throughout the day they are using the smart board and?
Oh, Smartboard, they always use those. Those are constantly
Okay.
being used. And then they have in the K through 4th grade, they have iPad stations of 5 units.
Right, so
And
tell
they
me
use those.
how they're doing with that. They're comfortable, everybody's.
Well, Margaret,
So you
you
mean
might
how
have
are
to
they
help with this too, because you're in the.
How are they employing?
Because I know a
the
few months ago,
technology
we
in
had
the
talked
classroom
about that
besides-
maybe they weren't, the teachers weren't as comfortable as we would hope.
We
It would
haven't
be
had
at this
the
point,
Apple training
so-
yet. We still have that. We're trying to work that into next year's schedule so they can be more comfortable with the devices. They are using it on their own, but we really have to get that training scheduled and get Apple in here to give them a better idea of how to use it.
That's not scheduled yet?
It's scheduled for next year.
Well, we're
Yeah.
building
We're
a
working on
professional
PD now
development, we're
and
working
trying to
on
figure out when to fit it
dates.
in. Yeah, because we have it. We have 2 full days of Apple training available to Pembroke.
That's paid
So,
for.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Even without that training,
yeah, they're still using it.
their daily computers are constantly being used.
Yeah.
Center work, intervention, students are using
Yep.
it for reading, fluency, comprehension, they're using math. Teacher, and this Wes and Mary Ann Berry can speak about the apps that some teachers have
Yeah.
asked to use. And teachers already were using smart boards in the morning for a lot of their morning work. So there's just constant.
The kids
so
love the smart boards.
Apple
Yeah.
training would be another component, but really, they're just constantly in use one way or another.
Well, that's good, because I'm sure it is very different going from
Oh, yeah. Yeah. How many
textbook
apps we put on?
way of
Was
of
that
teaching.
How many apps do we
and-
put on those things?
Classroom
On
has
some it's got
really
dozens.
Yeah.
have made the leap. Learning Classroom and Google
Yeah.
Apps.
Google Classroom.
Google Classroom has really, like, teachers have.
It has changed grades 4, 5, and 6, and it's breaking into 3. We have teachers next year who want to make their entire classroom a Google Classroom, so they can assign everything through the iPads or through computers. They can work on it at home, they can work on it at school, and they have a real hunger to want to learn how to do it well. And Marianne and I find that we're learning as we go, because Google Classroom is introducing new things, new tools to make it better and better. And the
Always,
teachers
yeah.
are getting excited about it. In fact, I sent out to the teachers that there's an app called Flipboard, which I have gotten several, it's almost magazine based, I have several articles I read about Google Apps for Education, and it's other people putting in ideas. So you can see what other people are doing, so we don't have to reinvent it.
Right.
And we have teachers who said, I don't care what I have to do over the summer, in the fall, I want to know it all. And they're really excited about learning this. And Marion is the one who really started this a couple years ago, and it has just taken off, and she has learned it, and she's really become a
Yeah,
driving
she has
force for
flown
Google
with it. yeah.
Classroom.
Oh, good.
No
Well,
question.
that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
I guess the other thing that I really appreciate is how, like, you differentiated the Google Apps training for the teachers. Because-
Yes.
So some teachers who are more comfortable are kind of getting the next level up. Those who are not comfortable yet can.
So the beginner versus.
We also did it more by grade level, because Google Classroom isn't really appropriate for K1 and 2. We really wanted to focus on what apps can the teacher use in his or her classroom
Right.
to make their life better.
Yeah.
And in the older grades, those kids have already used Google Classroom, so now you want to learn it too. So that's really how we differentiate it, is by age of the kids and what the kids are able to do. You need to know it too.
And I put every spelling word in, like grades
should come up, Margaret.
K1 and 2, every spelling word is in there. So spelling city, so that students can use that, and I helped by, typing in thousands of words and organizing them in groups by grade, and then the students can use that. So anytime there's any idea or any suggestion, I'm like, oh, I can do that for you and make it easier, and then you can incorporate that in your curriculum. And that happens constantly, like Corey, Mr. Jeanette is using the Explain Everything app as whiteboards. Instead of, erasing, he's using that. And they just use that app instead of a
Yeah,
whiteboard.
see, this is all new to me too, so I love the
Do
You
the
just
kids,
have to hook a
do the kids
person.
use Pic Collage or anything like that? Have they used that Pic Collage? I'm thinking when we went to that place in,
We haven't had anybody really ask for
we
it.
went to that place
Yeah.
in New York City.
Yeah.
Remember the kids, often,
Oh, you're
Well, with
using
Glogster.
Glogster. Yeah, Marion's using Glogster, which is very
That's the
similar to
same.
that.
Okay.
Yeah, and we have, that we have a subscription to, and that students love that because they make posters out of it.
yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
They can create
They can
their
pull
own.
things from anywhere and put it
And
into
what one is that?
Glogster. That's been around for a while. It's a really Glogster.
Blog, like
Blog.
blog.
Glogster.
Blog
Yep.
with
Blog.
a G.
G.
Blogster.
Blogster.
Blog.
Okay.
Blogster.
Yeah, what it is essentially you get a blank poster and you pull things off the internet or wherever you have it onto your poster. You can make different
Yeah, that's
posters
kinda
for
like
different
Pic
things. It's really a neat
Yeah, I know
program.
Pic Collage.
Yeah, it's kind of like the same thing.
Yeah, it's very similar. There's a lot of programs out there that do similar things, and just whatever people are comfortable with.
Are
you
there
know.
writing programs? Are the kids using it for writing?
We haven't used the keyboards much.
Not really?
iPads, have we?
Oh, yeah, they use it for docs. I mean, they
docs, yeah.
use Google,
Okay,
they
so
write
they write.
constantly
Yeah,
with
so you
docs
use
and
that
with
docs.
keyboards.
Okay.
They use
Yeah.
that constantly.
Yeah.
That is just something, I know in 5th and 6th, they use
Yeah.
Yeah.
it all the time.
Yeah. So we had talked at one point about doing one-to-one. Remember, we were talking about assigning, like in fifth and grade, to actually a computer to a kid that they traveled around with, and then we kind of backed off that and said, we'll put them in the classrooms and
That's
then have
worked
the
out much
classroom.
better.
So I was curious what your thoughts were on that.
It's a modified one-to-one, but it's working very well. I mean, because like Corey Schnitt has math apps on
Yes.
his iPads, and we're not filling up every iPad with the math apps. He's got certain ones that are going for his class, and he's using them for
Got
that. So that's what's happened. A lot of the apps that we're doing now, we can specifically do for whatever teacher actually wants them in their classroom, and it makes it a little less. It's neater.
Yes.
So it's working out quite well.
And they're staying in one place, so they're not traveling
Yeah,
off.
it's safer,
They're not
too.
walking.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah. So.
In this technology, this plan update, you have IPTV system in use.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. That took a while to get that.
IPTV is?
Sure. Although we have with the new building, we have a system. It's a video system that actually works over the actual network, wired network that we have. It's on a separate set of switches, so it doesn't interfere with things. But we can broadcast movies from being broadcast television, education television shows from Comcast and to the digital direct TVs. So we have anything they want to watch during the day. There's programs for, because it's actually educational version of Comcast, the educational version of DirecTV. Plus they can make their own, like Barry and Marion were talking about before. They can make their own video and display those throughout the whole system or individually. We are also starting Barry found out how to do convert some of the
VHS
old
tapes.
VHS tapes onto the system. We can store them there so they can pull up the movies
So
anytime
Wes,
they want.
just for Pam's benefit, so when you first walk in and you're in the lobby, that
Yes,
TV
those
that's on the
LCDs,
wall.
those
So
are
there's
all-
one upstairs as
Yeah.
well, that's the big screen TV. So something I remember that was
Yeah.
very cool is at one point the art teacher had done this really cool project.
Yeah, that was
with
neat. The
tin
first one. That's the first
cans.
one we put on. Yeah.
And so
Yep.
you would, when you walked into the school, it showed the whole process of the kids, where it started and just so you could
Yeah.
watch that. Barry and they bought a little camera. So when the ducks came back,
Right, ducks. Yeah.
the duck laid its eggs under the tree by the kindergarten, and they were able to put the camera on it, and then at any time, if they wanted, they could just send that out through the school and on everybody's device and on those TVs,
Yep.
everybody could
Anybody
just
could watch it in their
the-
classroom.
At any time.
Classroom
It was-
or the monitors.
That's what that
So
is.
any classroom can call up individually any video or TV station they want. So it's a very unique system, and it works very, very well.
You can put announcements on it too,
Yes.
right, Margaret?
Yep.
Is that, use it?
Yeah, and she can broadcast from her desk the whole newscast if she wanted
This
to.
has certainly given me a better understanding of the pressure that teachers have been under, because this
Oh,
does
yeah.
seem like.
It's this. We put a lot on their shoulders this year. I mean, a
Yeah, it
lot.
sounds it.
I was really pleased that they've all been very accepting. They really
That's
haven't
great.
complained about it. They just done it. It was
Math
amazing.
testing, they're
Yeah.
doing that.
Yeah.
In
They're
their
getting that done much
classrooms,
faster
Barry and
now.
I did it, it did everybody, and now they're doing it with our support. And doing a great job.
It's much more
Good
efficient.
that they have the two of you that they can.
Yeah, they're very lucky.
They call our phone rings. Our phones ring.
That's great. That's great.
What about bandwidth? I know, where did it go? You said we're up to the 150.
On both locations, yes.
Are we ever getting close to that, or?
We are getting close to that and then some.
Okay.
So you don't get that throughout, once you get through the network, you don't get that through the whole building. But
For sure.
from the server, we're consistently getting 150 to 170,
Okay.
up and down. So it varies from that range. And the high school and and Pembroke both have that range. It's when it gets beyond that in the high school it gets a little tricky. But we're going to work on that during the summer and try and straighten that out.
So is that adequate, or, I'm not, I don't know what the, I don't know.
It's
how I'm
adequate.
supposed to-
It's adequate at this moment.
Well, and I guess that's what my
Next
question
year,
is.
maybe not.
So what happens if when it
We
doesn't get
can bring
adequate?
that up. We have at Pembroke right now, according to Verizon, and they change their minds every other day. We can go from 150 to 300 megabytes, and the high school we can do the same thing. The high school we should be able to get up even higher than that because we're so close to their location. But it really depends on what they open up in the pipe. So it could be, but we do have that. We certainly have the potential at Pembroke, and we have more than the potential at the high school to bring that up when the price gets a little more.
So when we designed it, when it was designed by the technology people who designed it,
Yep.
and they knew how many laptops or machines we were gonna put in the building, should they have put something bigger in?
Right now, we're not taxing it to that
Okay.
extent.
Okay.
I say that today. Tomorrow, that's going to change. I mean, really, what we're looking for is going towards a gigabyte into the building. So almost 10 times what we have now.
Right, gigabyte sounds like 1,000
Yeah,
megabytes.
million bytes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's what you have on most local networks now is that speed. So right now,
Okay.
Well-
And would we be able to,
we have the infrastructure to do that today.
infrastructure.
We have the infrastructure to go to 10 gigabytes
It's
to the
not
school.
coming into the building.
Yeah, oh yeah. We're
of
ways
10
from that.
gigabytes?
The buildings, all the backbones of both schools are now at 10 gigabytes.
Okay.
It sounds fast, but like I said, a couple years from now, that we're gonna be saying, well, I wish we had 100, so,
Right,
It just changed that
Because
fast.
of the level and volume of data.
There's so much data out there, and so much stuff that's coming in and out, videos, and who knows what's coming down the pike in 3D modeling and so on and so forth. It's gonna have to go through that pipe.
Right.
It's just, I've never ever been more amazed at how fast things have gone from, remember when 56K was so quick, and now, we're
You're
at
dating yourself.
100 times. Yeah, I know I am. But we have the infrastructure now to be capable of handling up to a gig into the building. So we have a lot of future proofing in it. The switches are all capable of handling it.
And what is
And
the
the
cost
wireless.
to that?
At this point in time, probably prohibitive. I would imagine, right now, we're paying $400 a month for the 150, so you can figure it triples when you double. So if we went to 300, it'd probably be more like 1,200. But, you're in Massachusetts, you get a lot better prices than other states.
So I guess my question is, what is our capacity? I know you said the APs support 75 devices. AP to AP, but how many devices would be in use before we see like a real network slowdown, a real network issue? Because it's great if we can do 75 per room, essentially, but
That would,
Put four of those
if
rooms
we
together.
had 75, say we had 75 per room in every room in each building doing a video, you'd see it. It would
For
it would
sure.
crash.
and there would also be
The chance that happening now
Yeah.
are slimmer than they will in the future, but yeah, that's the issue is you have to keep upgrading the internal connections because those are the ones that are going to crash out first because there's so much on them. But yeah, each AP in Pembroke can handle up to 75 units. I wouldn't want to put 75 units on. I think 30 or 40 is probably about the most you're going to get with good connection. In the high school, we're doing the same thing. I've got 50% of what we need now. I've filed for E-rate for the next 50%, so that by sometime next fall, we should have the whole high school with the same density as Pembroke, which is really where we need to be. We're not there now. The wireless there is just not enough density to cover even what we have now.
I guess my question though is when, and obviously not a hard number, but how many devices in use at Pembroke or the high school once the other half of the APs come in, do we run out of essentially run out of bandwidth, for lack of a better word. And are we going to be at a point where, I mean, the goal obviously is to be using these
Yes.
devices everywhere,
All
not
the
all the
time.
time, but
Yeah.
be able to do it. When are we going to sort of hit?
If we had
And
every
comfortable.
classroom in high school using in a one-to-one situation, using an iPad, and they're all using them at the same time, which would be, what, 700 and some odd devices, yeah, your network would be a problem. It would crash at that point. But I don't anticipate everybody going on at the same time, so because of that switch
Right.
and bait,
And it's
it
not
would
all
be a
going to be
problem.
stripping video.
It won't be, it won't be doing all that at the same time. So we are got to keep mindful of the connection to the outside world. It's going to have to be increased at some point.
Yeah, I was
I'd
gonna say,
a
I
year or
think it's
two.
part of your long-term plan, right,
Yes.
is that you have to be mindful of that.
You got to be mindful that you're always going to
budget and
increase your
plan
connect to
for
the
it.
outside.
Well, and I guess, I mean, the 400 a month, is that per building?
Yeah, yep.
I
Yep.
mean, it's looking at, call it $5,000 going up to 12,000 times
The
two.
prices are going down
For
very
sure.
quickly, so I don't know, I don't anticipate that being the case when we get to that point. I'd say we give another year and see where it's looking. Every year we reapply for E-rate, and we'll just look at it every year, and I'll put a bid out and see what comes in. I mean, for instance, the 150 we're paying for here, when I was in Vermont, that was costing $2,000 a month for one building. So there's a huge, of course, they were getting 80% E-rate, but but you know, it's still it's an expense, but you got to look at it as a utility. It's like
Oh, no,
electricity.
absolutely.
I mean,
I'm just,
we
I'm looking
have
at
to have
the
it.
budget side of
Yeah, budget side, we got to keep
that
looking at
10,000
that.
becomes 24.
And it will, you gotta look at that next year or so, it probably will go to a next higher level, we're gonna have to. I mean, I think we're probably okay for another year, but once we go to one-to-one, the high school's probably gonna have to go up from 150 to something else. Because then they're gonna utilize it more at a time
lot more than sort of
than
Pembroke would,
than
yeah.
Pembroke would. Plus you got the phones, that, well, everybody's got a phone that's on there, there's a lot of things that are attaching to that network that really have to be looked at. So, yeah, we will have to keep looking and
There'd be nothing
expanding.
more frustrating than having all the devices and then
Yeah.
not
Yeah, and
having
then having it
any-
not
having it
connect
either
properly.
not work
Yeah.
or take forever, yeah.
Extremely important, yeah.
Well, that's why we said next year, we have to really focus on the infrastructure. You know, I mean, we're gonna accept the PTA donation, which is huge for us, because
Yeah.
that's gonna take care of our TV situation. And now what really is left is making sure the infrastructure's there and getting the devices.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Yeah.
I can see the, you know,
Light
I can
at the
see
end
it
of the
where we're
tunnel.
gonna get.
We're heading, yeah, we're gonna get there.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, as fast as we can possibly do it. And
But
it's-
you're right, but there is a budgetary
Yeah,
consideration that we just have to
Yeah.
face.
So the technology ticket system, is 290 tickets, is that average?
that's what that's what we've gotten since we've instituted it in February.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so how long has it, what's the average it takes to resolve any issues?
Usually, on a low, I have things on 3 different scales: low, medium, and high. A low takes about 4 days. That's usually something that's not critical to a teacher or staff member. Then we go to medium. That's something that they really should have done as soon as possible. It may affect their day. And high is when they got to have it now. We haven't had a lot of highs. Most of them have been lows and a few mediums, and we've been turning them around in less than 4 days. So it's working very well, and I've been able to keep track of what's going on. So it's very helpful.
Is that between the three of you? Oh, and Mark, and.
Yep, and Kyle.
Middle high school, yeah, okay.
But most of them we just address without tickets. Barry and I were
We
saying.
still have the relationship with the teachers that, hey
Yeah.
Barry, can you come? Of course I
There's
can.
so many more
I
than
was
that
just gonna
that
say,
are not
is there more, okay, so
ticketed.
there's more than that.
So
mean,
I just got to get them to write
that's-
the tickets afterwards. That's all.
I sort of tell the teachers if they catch me in the hall and I can't do it, then put in a ticket so it'll keep showing up in front of me because
But don't
I
you
promise
want
I'm
those
going to
tickets
forget.
as sort of data?
I
to
do. Yes.
see?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's the
we'll work on that.
transition. Yeah.
But it's been a very good tool for me. I was a little resistant at first to using a ticket system. It's something else I have to watch. But it has been great for me organizing my time and seeing, okay, this is what I have to do. And I can solve 3 and make 3 people happy right now. I'm going to go do that.
Yeah.
Right.
We had the same problem with when we implemented School Dude maintenance. Like, people would grab Mike walking by, can you take care of this? And it was hard for our maintenance guys they had just started doing it at the end of the day, coming in.
walking down the halls.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But they would come in at the end of the day and then log into their system and make sure, because they're not going to not help a teacher that
Right.
has something broken in their class. But then we do want it. We do want
that in
that
there, yeah.
data to see how
Right,
much
just
we're
to
doing.
see.
Yeah.
Right.
And to sort of that point, are those tickets primarily like user interface issues, or are they infrastructure issues? Like what are the big issues?
Most of them are minor issues where something's just not working for some reason, or something working before is not working now. And if it's minor, it's usually something like I can't quite get my sound consistently on through my Apple TV. So if it's something that, like for instance, Tato was one of the teachers that had to have a video they had to display, so I put that on high and sent it out to Barry right away so that it could be fixed and they could get their sound through their Apple TV. That sort of thing is what most of them are. They're little issues, or there are issues like the librarian at Pembroke had an issue with she thought she wasn't getting enough connection speed in the library. So I went in there the other day and spent a lot of time with her and went to each one to make sure they were working fine. Turns out it was a website issue. We have to diagnose that sort of thing. A lot of them are minor issues. If they're major issues, we get them done pretty quick.
My computer crashed. Well, was it a month ago? Yeah, he had it fixed in like half an hour.
Did he make you put a ticket in?
He probably put the ticket in. He gave me a new computer and put
I
the
gave her a
ticket in.
different computer. It was time. She had an old tank. But that's the kind of thing we find from the ticket system. We can figure out what are most of our errors coming from. We can find out what thing is coming up a lot.
Oh, for sure.
And we have a lot of issues with the microphones, the teacher microphones at Pembroke. Most of it's for battery issues and not getting charged. Something's not plugged in. We can address those relatively quickly. And having that log, now we know how many times we've had a microphone issue, how many times had a smart board issue.
That's what I'm asking.
If something if we start seeing something going a lot, then we know it's time to it might be time to replace something, or we can tell how much training. Maybe teachers need more training and how to hook certain things up. So it's been really great for me. I've really just been I keep on that thing all the time. And if there's something that goes, if I think it's a little long, I just go to Barry or Kyle and say, okay, why is this taking so long? How can I help you? And we get it done.
And many times I'll ask a teacher if I go in and just do something for them. Not all the time, but I'll say, can you put a ticket in anyway, and then we can have it resolved right away, just so that we have some documentation. This is something that it's
like
going
the
to take.
to-do list that you can immediately check off.
Yes.
Exactly,
Yeah.
that feels great.
Yep. Yep.
My only other question. Phone system is not totally integrated? Is that supposed to be now?
Phone system is
now
totally
fully
integrated.
okay.
Yes, it's all three schools. The PA system. Any teacher can pick up a phone, dial a simple number, and broadcast out really quick.
That's great.
And that was important for the Alice training. That communication was there.
So, Wes, it does say
Did
here
what?
phone
It says
system.
not.
It says
Not
is
now.
not.
Instead of now.
It's supposed to be
It
now.
should be
Did
now.
I really do
Okay,
that?
There you go.
For
Should be
example.
now.
Really?
Thing.
No, it's just a me thing.
That one little letter makes all the
That's
difference,
why
doesn't it?
I'm like, are we really showing off that it is not?
No, it's totally. I forgot to put the not. I had the not gun in. I don't know, but it is.
Because you put now,
All
you
typed
in.
type the T instead
Yes.
of the
I
R.
read it last. I read it.
You do. That's very good. Good for picking up on that not too. But no, but they're all integrated. The next step is going to be the 911. So when somebody dials 911 at the police station, they see exactly where it is. So we got to work with Verizon on that and the phone company to put the thing into a data system and put it in the system, and then that'll spit out. So as soon as somebody picks up the phone and dials 911, the officer will know it's in C333 and they're there.
So will the teachers be able to use the parent portal in the fall?
Yes,
And that's for 5th and 6th grade?
we're hoping to get the whole Pembroke school on it next fall. We got the whole high school, middle school's on it now.
Whoa, whoa.
We're working towards getting the parent portal up and running for the elementary school as well. All we really need to do is get the classes scheduled. We have never scheduled classes in Pembroke before. Once they're scheduled, students are in classrooms, then we can start using that system.
Did you think?
Surprise.
Oh, Margaret's going,
Why would we want it for the?
that's right, that's my
Well,
question. I think we
yeah, I
need to
don't know if
talk
we
about
need
that
to-
just a little bit more.
It's
before
more, I'm addressing the portal as gradebook. We gotta use gradebook
Yeah, well,
next year because we have to have that data in for the state. The state is
Yeah.
going to require that we do things through SIF, which is a connection from our data to their data.
do our report
So we
cards.
have to do the
I don't
grading.
see the
We're not gonna
teachers
have, like,
logging
So
in
I don't think doing a
grades.
portal, no, because they use Classroom. The portal's not gonna be a big deal for elementary school, maybe 5th and 6th, as far as teachers and parents looking at the grades and stuff. But we need to have that whole system at least somewhat
Yeah, all
functioning, so
the
we put
students
grades
at
in.
least in the
They have to be
system.
in a class, in a grade, and the grades have to be registered so they can be picked up by the state.
And that makes perfect sense, Barry, because
Yeah.
right now Barry does all the report cards on a template you've created.
Yes.
So it's really just integrating what the standards-based report card is into that
Yeah,
format.
the standards base will probably still have to do Barry's method now, that he's using now, because that's gonna take a lot of work to get that data into the system. But I think the ones that are just using ABC grades, that shouldn't be a problem getting the grades in
That's
through there.
third.
Yeah, I was gonna
Just
say that's,
third,
yeah.
Third through six, yeah.
It's been great. It was the first time I ever used it. And I only use it for sixth grade report cards in the parent portal. It's really good.
Oh, good.
I really like it better. And I do report cards on all three different kind of report cards, and it's the best.
That's good.
Is
That
there,
must be so difficult, 3 different.
from the parent portal, and this isn't so much a technology as it is a use of technology question, is there a way to, I hear a lot of frustration about how many teachers are actively using the portal and putting grades in and really using the tools that the portal provides. Is there, I guess, and I don't really know what my question is per se, it's maybe more of a teacher question than a technology question.
May not, go ahead.
But I guess, is there a way to figure out how many teachers are actually using it and updating it and keeping it live and updated?
Yeah, it's easy. The students,
say, I'm
the
sure
students will come and give them all kinds of crap that they can't get their grades fast enough. So it's more the students, the parents somewhat, but yeah, the students want to know what their grades are almost instantaneously. So you can ask Peter, but I bet you they have to be on them pretty quick. Otherwise, you get student complaints, and the students will harass the teachers forever. When I was doing Power School in my other district, and we had that same type of portal.
Right.
Parents never complained about it. They went on there once in a while, but the students, they were on the teachers' backs
Okay.
faster than
Yeah.
the principal could
There
get
is-
to them
There is
because
a way.
they
There
are.
wasn't with Edline, because as parents have asked me. So first thing I did is I went and I asked Peter, so is there a way that you as a principal can go in and say,
Who's using
teacher
it?
A, how is teacher A posting his or her grades? In Edline, that apparently didn't exist, or we didn't know how to access it.
Yeah, you can in this
In this
right here.
one-
You can see
in
all
this
the.
one-
Peter can see any grade book he wants to at any time.
Okay.
And
So it's
Margaret
much-
would have the same
Yeah, Margaret has
advantage.
the same thing. Yeah.
Because the parent portal is up in 6th grade.
Yes.
That's right,
Yeah.
just 6th.
Yeah.
And specialists.
Okay.
I mean, we haven't gone as far as to say, you must, a uniform, you must do this. What we have done is we've worked with the union, we worked with them through the contract negotiations. At one point, it was 14 days, grades had to be posted within 14 days. And then through the process of discussion, I think everybody understands they need to be available whenever the grade is available. So as soon as a teacher corrects something, right, Mike? As soon as the teacher corrects something, then the expectation is they're putting it up. And I think Peter and I had a conversation about, well, what is his expectation as a principal, like for homework and making forms and things, assignments available through that. And my understanding is that is also an expectation. Now, some
Is
teachers
that-
will. Go
On
ahead.
the very are those expectations being met? Because I recognize there's a very likely a disconnect between teacher and student expectations and
Parents' expectations.
And, I'm sorry, yeah, parent and student
Parent, students.
expectations versus teacher and administration. Are they
Yes.
meeting your expectations? Is that a loaded question?
Most,
Okay,
this isn't a brand new expectation because
Yeah.
of.
for sure,
We've had this since we've been using,
in one form or another.
Edline.
Yeah.
Some people populate more than others. Some people do homework differently. That's the biggest thing where it's confusing to parents because teachers don't have all the same expectations for their children with homework, and they don't do it the same way always. So there's not one consistent way to do it. But I would say that most teachers meet my expectation for what they should be posting.
I can say I hear from parents much less than I used to.
Okay.
It is a good program.
I mean, it's like anything else, right? Some people, do what they have to, right? And then others will build their website and every assignment's put up there. And unfortunately, sometimes people get used to that and that's really what they want, right? And then
Depends
they're
where the bar is.
disappointed if someone
Yeah.
else doesn't do it quite as much, so. But I think the best thing we always say is if parents are concerned about that, then they should talk to the teacher.
For sure.
And when they talk to the teacher, usually the teacher, would be in a position to say, oh, okay, I could do something about that, right?
Yeah.
That's really the best thing.
And I'm asking kind of on the I mean, we're spending a
Macro
bunch of money
level,
on it.
right.
Are we getting
Yeah.
the investment? Like, are we?
Well, I tell you, if we decided, oh, we aren't gonna use the money for that anymore, we're not
Oh,
gonna
yeah.
do it, I think the consequences of that would
dire.
be.
Oh, I don't think that's.
I mean,
a
if you
good
see
idea.
how upset people are if they don't get it the way they feel they wanna get it.
if they don't get
If,
it.
if
Took it
if
away?
we took it away, cause I remember when we didn't have it.
Stepping backward, not forward.
Parents would be,
Yep.
were so upset about, quarter grades would come out and the kid would be doing okay. Then the final grades come out and yikes,
Suddenly
not
it's
as
a big
good. And then people are like,
change.
what the heck? How come I didn't know that? So that's, obviously part of what motivated us, and the teachers were on board with that too. They understood. We certainly had some questions about it. We did a little field test pilot for a quarter just to, troubleshoot some of the questions. And when we implemented it, I have to say, I thought it would be a tougher implementation than it ended up being. But it did have some growing pains initially because there was inconsistency and there were questions about 14 days. I think everybody agreed was just too much time. But the teachers were on board with that and said, yeah, we agree with you. It should be whenever a teacher has a grade, they post it.
I think it's going very well. I'm
Yeah.
very impressed with my kids will come home and take a test that day, and they're in the car and they already have their
Great.
results. So to me, it's come a long way.
Oh, good to
No
hear
question.
that, Barbie.
Yeah.
It's great. And they
Mike,
look
from a
at it all the
teacher's
time.
perspective, do you think the teachers find this, how does this compare to Edline, or is there really no difference in?
I don't think there's much difference.
Okay.
I think there's probably more capabilities. I don't know if they're all being utilized to maximum. It depends on, kind of each discipline.
Right,
When it comes to grades, it really also depends on assignments. There are things that can be, corrected very quickly.
right,
And the
especially in
turnover,
English, right?
But then there's, there's something like a term paper,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, it took a
especially when you're
longer.
talking about multiplying that term paper by 40 or 50.
Yeah,
So it is kind of relative. But
Right.
I think that's why we came to the agreement.
and when it's ready.
Yeah, when it's ready, just immediately, you don't want something laying around, it's corrected. So if it's corrected, then get the information.
But one of the things that the union has agreed, and we've had this conversation too, like, if there is a concern and really a teacher isn't posting it regularly, they've said, we totally agree. If the administration is what warranted in addressing that with the teacher, because we all have common expectations about, the tool. It's really not about compliance, it's really about what's the value and purpose of the tool, right? And everybody's when we're using it fully, everybody's happier, right? Everybody's getting the information they need, and especially like Wes says, the kids. When we first did Edline, the kids didn't have a password. And I kept saying, well, the kids are the ones that I want to have the password, because it's really not the parents that are doing the work, it's the child, right? We want the child to care about what their grades are and interact with the teachers. So the fact that the kids are, on board, I think they do exactly what Wes says, is they pay attention to their grades because they can see it in real time.
Yep, it's important to them.
Yeah, definitely.
We've definitely been
Great question,
busy
though.
this year. It's been a busy year.
Yeah, look what we went through to get to two building
Yeah.
projects that changed a lot. So it did. We had a lot of stuff, a lot of technologies.
So Barry and Mary Ann, since you don't get to come very often, is there anything else you want to feature for say the other things that you've been
Just
doing?
that I feel this has been a great year, and I think we have a very good technology team. I'm really happy
Yeah,
to be
there's no
part of
question
this.
about it. Yep.
We're working extremely well together. This is a very happy year.
That's nice.
No question about
It's
it.
always good to be able to rely on your colleagues.
Absolutely.
And like you had said, like if a teacher comes, and it's great that they feel like they can just do that. Hey, Mary Ann, help me with this, which is nice.
Yep.
And I have to say, it's been
It's such a
wonderful
big
having a
school.
technology coordinator that we have been missing for so long, to have somebody who is grounding us finally. I think that's
Pulling
been very.
things together.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Couldn't do it without you.
And I've lived it with both Barry and Mary Ann, who have helped me in the past so much.
That's good.
I mean, when
Yeah,
things
you
were
need
really
to have
hard.
that support,
and
because once
technology
that
was
goes,
really weak,
Yeah.
So we do have a lot of strength with these guys at this level. What we do have to figure out is what we're going to do at the middle high school,
Yeah.
because, you know, we're obviously trying to, you know, in the next couple of years, launch something that's gonna be bigger than what we have now. And, we did make a reduction to that position. But good news is Kyle did get another job
Yeah.
in a local school district. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy to talk to the superintendent about him and to hear that he did get,
I'm glad that he
get
got
hired.
He's a really great guy.
He really is, and he brought a lot to our district and was incredibly helpful. And Paul Schwame, who's our librarian, I found out that he and Barry were the original two technology people in the district years ago. He actually did what Barry does at the high school. And then when the librarian job opened up, apparently, you know, he was certified in that and he moved into that. But Paul's been working with us this year at the high school and
I've been
has
working with
said,
Paul for a bit, yeah.
please, you know, I'm happy to do it. I wanna get more involved in it. So I think, you know, having him helping with some state reporting and a few other things at the high school is helpful, but we still have to figure out what we need, you know, for the position.
Yeah.
So we have people like these two that, you know, somebody says, I need it, and it's there. So we got a gap, we gotta figure out exactly what we need there, but
Well, we have a few super users, as
we
they're
do,
referred to over there.
we do.
so-
And they're good to go. We're gonna do the one-to-one pilot with Sandra Schwarzkopf, and, you know, Liz Marquette's very,
Yeah, she's
you know,
always there to lend a
interested
hand,
and
yeah.
eager, and, you know, Cerise Cothran, who's the science department head, is really proficient in technology. So I think it's gonna be an opportunity to utilize some of the local internal.
Why is it gonna be just one class and not one grade?
Well, because we don't have
we don't
machines
have
for
machines.
a whole grade of kids, right? I mean, we're just basically going to have her teach, you know, her class, and then it's gonna be like a lab classroom, so people can come in and watch it, and she's gonna be able to help train other teachers in how she's doing it. But that's really why, because A, we had some time that we could make in her schedule, and B, she's a super user, and C, we have the ability to actually put the machines in the kids' hands and actually see it work.
Yeah, we got enough for one classroom. We don't have enough for any more than that, yeah.
But that's a great question, Suzanne, because it would've been nice if we could have done
Would
one
it be
whole
grade.
grade.
possible for teachers?
It's just a pilot.
Yeah.
Right, but I think you'd get more of a, I don't know, an understanding with the
people.
whole grade as opposed to just one class.
Oh, no question.
no-
Yeah,
no
that would've
doubt.
been our preferred method, it just wasn't gonna work.
When those students in Saunders' class are in other classrooms, that's almost like a soft pilot, a soft
Right.
launch.
It is a
Those
soft
students
pilot,
as
yeah,
well. So
yeah.
Right.
those students are gonna have their iPad the whole day.
Yeah.
So when they go into English class, there's gonna be an opportunity to some level to do it.
Well,
with-
is there or isn't there? Because if she's piloting the class and she's, you know,
Peter,
has
you're gonna
less
have to
space
weigh
on
in
it,
here.
are the other teachers going to be able to pilot it as well?
No, because everybody in their class will not have full
So
laptops.
it's just going to be.
So Peter, did you understand that question? So Sandra's going to do the pilot in her history class, right? And so the kids are gonna have the access to the technology. The question is, do the kids get to keep those machines themselves, like during the day in other classes, and can they bring them to other classes? Okay.
And bring them home, bring them home.
And is the expectation or the hope or whatever the word is that when, you know, in history class,
No.
25 kids are using the iPad in that room,
Mm-hmm.
but when they split up to their different English classes or math classes, that there's an opportunity to involve that iPad, or is it going to be in a backpack put away?
That, according to our policies right now, would be teacher discretion.
Yeah.
Is there a hope that those teachers would have that opportunity to involve? I mean, it's going to be an
Know who the
iPad
kids
or
are.
two or
But
three.
then there'd be some that
but-
don't have the iPad, so how are they gonna build a lesson plan around those that have it and that those that don't?
Yeah, they wouldn't be able to, but a lot of teachers have kids use their phones now.
Right.
Right.
So,
Not in middle school though, right? Just in high school?
some in middle school, yep.
Yeah, we're 1 year away from being able to do what we really want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, in Hamilton, I pay $20 a month for 4 years
Yeah.
for my children to have their iPad, and every teacher uses it, and then we own it at the end. And we get a 3-year warranty.
That's
So
the
you pay
program we're working
$20 a
towards.
month.
Yeah.
I pay $22 a month, just so.
So
Per
that's
child.
consistent.
Per child.
Per child.
Per child,
Yeah.
22 for 4 years, and I sign a contract. It
That's
just comes
that's
out of
about
my
the numbers
checking
we're.
account.
Wasn't
that's the
that about
numbers we're
what we
looking
were
at.
talking about?
Yeah, very close.
Yeah.
Cause
Yeah.
we were talking about,
Yeah.
about $250 or something a year, right?
Yeah, so it's about $25 a month, yeah.
Does the, because I know we were talking about like one payment, 2 payments versus 12 payments, totally unrelated to anything else we're
Right.
talking about. Is a 12 payment, is the $22 a month more comfortable, better, realistic versus the one bill of
Installment.
$280 versus $22 a
You
month?
have a
You
choice?
choose, you choose.
Okay. I was
gonna
what
say,
you
you have
do.
a
And
choice.
I can pay it off, I could pay the whole thing
In one
off at
shot,
any
or-
time, like right now.
pay?
Wow, it
Do you
comes
use
out of my,
Xerox?
Xerox, it comes
Yeah.
out of
So
my
you
pay
check.
direct-
Yeah, they did say they
We
use
knew
that.
that, they
Can
told
you
us
bring your
that.
own iPad, or does it have
Yep.
to come?
Yep.
Okay, so you can,
If it's, well, we were talking about one of the options, and we'll
Yeah.
talk more in the fall, because we'll have a plan.
Yeah.
We talked about, because Peter keeps asking at every event that he's at, so I'm just curious, like, how many of you have an iPad? Now, we have, what we need to be asking is how many of you have a specific iPad? But it's amazing how many hands go up in every setting that he asks that question, that of people that already have an iPad. So if a parent said, can I buy my child an iPad if it meets the specs?
Certainly.
We don't have a problem with that. You don't have to lease it.
Or if a teacher wanted to pilot kind of alongside Sandra Schwarzkopf and ask what if she asked all the students in her class, do you have an iPad and would you be able to bring it to school? I mean, kind of a
She's going to do that.
BYOD.
That's where it starts.
But then the question becomes
But
the
the other
infrastructure,
teacher-
right? We just have to
And then
make
you'd
sure
have to
that
make
we,
sure- Then you'd all have
We'll
to
have
make
it, we'll have it
sure-
close enough
Kinda
this summer to be able to do that.
BYOB.
Laptop.
BYOD.
BYOD,
iPad.
BYOD. Bring your own device.
Sorry.
It's a different kind of one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
with
by
all
one
due,
month.
with all due respect though, this one-on-one we're gonna talk about.
yeah, later, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes.
I really wanna get more, you can get sidetracked.
Yeah, we got
Sidetracked on
a
that.
lot of planning doing that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
that's okay. Technology is exciting.
It is. Thank you.
No question about it.
Thank you.
All set.
Thank you for all you do.
We appreciate it. We appreciate you coming out tonight too.
Yeah, thank you so much. Barry, you can
Nice
hang
job.
for a minute, because we're gonna talk about buses, if you want.
I'm going over there. This was a trap, eh?
No, you can hang back there.
Okay.
This is that we got him here.
This is why I did it on the same night.
It's, it was in the beginning.
Yes, thank you. It's right at the beginning.
So we will talk about the buses.
Yeah. So there's not really a ton to talk about, but I wanted to put in the packet. First of all, I have to say, Barry and Laura have worked really, really hard on this, and Joan and I have contributed to the conversation, but the two of them have really put a lot of time into it. I want to make sure we acknowledge that. So just for your information, the first sheets here, and of course, it's not pretty the way it will look on the site, because when I printed it, this is what happened to it. But we're ready to post on the website. Do we already post on the website? Where they can click on to fill out the application for the ineligible kids?
Yes, it's
Okay.
on the Pembroke website.
It's on the, okay, so it's not on the district website, because that's where I looked.
It's only for elementary kids.
Got it, okay. So I just need to make sure when I do the Connect Ed message that I tell them the right thing.
place, yeah.
So it's on the Pembroke site, and is it a button, Barry?
It's two yellow buttons, you can't miss it.
Two yellow buttons. So, because we were discussing, we don't want it to go into the middle and then have it keep going down. So the two little buttons. And so they can click on, there's this little blurb at the top here, and then they fill it out, and then they submit it. And it goes into the sort of black hole of the
Into a
database. Yeah, into the database. And then also, the second page is just some commonly asked questions we anticipate that people might want to know, that maybe we didn't have space to put into the blurb at the top of the application. This is also there and available for people that want to get that. So this is for the people who are currently ineligible. We don't know exactly how many seats we're going to have. However, we anticipate 30 to 35, because the average that we've had from the apartments, the Longview is going to ride the same bus. This is an extra run. Those
So
kids,
there'll be six instead
so
of
there'll be
five.
6 instead of 5, using 5 buses though.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's important for people to understand that. while we'd love to be able to say, because I know one of the commonly asked questions that people probably will ask is, well, I see this kid's in the neighborhood, why can't my kid get on the bus there? And the problem with it is that right now, those buses are just don't have that kind of discretionary space for the most part.
If it's a lottery, and let's just say the family has 3 children,
All three are bundled. So you tell them. So if you've got 3 kids,
then it's
they're
all
all on. Right, they're all on. So by the 21st, last day of school, and that's a firm date. People have to understand that. You can't say, "Oh, gee, I'll get to it when I get to it," because you know what? Yes, okay. You know why that's 22nd? Because in my brain, I keep saying the last day of school is the 22nd. I don't know why I think that. So it's fine if it's the 22nd.
Unless you want it to
I'm
be the
fine.
22nd.
I'm fine if it's the 22nd.
Is
It's
it
no
for-
big deal.
It's for students who live less than 1.5?
Right. So it's
Right.
yes. It's
But the letter says more.
oh, it shouldn't. So we'll make a change if that does. Which where are you seeing that, Pam?
Right, in the first paragraph?
Oh yes, that's right. So Barry, we gotta fix that. Can you fix that, Barry? Would you be able to make that change?
Which part is it in?
It's in the first paragraph of the letter.
Or in the form?
It's in the form.
It's in the letter.
Yeah, the form. The
It's,
form.
it's,
The
it
form.
says, you can complete
Does
this
it also-
application if you live more than 1.5 miles
Right.
away, but it's really if you live
less than, correct.
1.5
Barry will
miles
take care of
away.
that for us. He will thank you for catching that. Because that will confuse people.
And so if you're changing it, you
Change it
might
to the
want to change to the 21st.
Yeah, you know what? Good
I
point.
mean,
Good point. I don't really care if it's 22nd, but 21st makes it easier. So then what will happen is people will, go into this database. We'll be able to determine whether we have more than 30 to 35. And then we will do a lottery if we have to. And then I really think we're gonna try this for a year. We'll see how it goes, right? It'd be nice if we could help people, but we won't be able to help everybody unless there's a lot fewer people that need it than we anticipate there will be.
Well, I spoke to Laura about this earlier this week, but I received a bus application because we qualify, but my son is not going to
Right.
kindergarten. But
Oh, that's weird.
He thinks he is based on his birthday.
Oh,
With
okay.
receipt?
Well, but that's the thing, so I don't know if there's
Others that might be in that
others-
situation.
Yeah.
I don't know. Good point.
I told
Barry?
Laura.
So that's interesting. Cheryl's got a son who got a letter,
Saying
but
that he's eligible for the bus.
but he's not going to kindergarten. He's in preschool. So where do we get the list?
Well, I think it
So
was
that
in
may,
the Reddick.
it's possible that it was a child who was transferred from the preschool database.
Yeah.
Is he doing preschool second year?
Yeah.
And that he would have come over with
But he would have been eligible, you're saying?
Right.
Okay, he would have been
come
fine.
over with the database and been put into the,
Okay.
Pembroke database just as a transfer.
Okay, so
just hasn't been
it won't
completed out.
really matter because you wouldn't fill it out, right? So
Right, right, right.
it would just be, we're just worried about getting the kids that are interested in it, right? So we'll make those corrections. Barry can get that right back up there.
And what's our goal? How many students are you hoping will respond?
I don't know, we got 46 surveys.
Not more than 35 though, because then you're gonna.
No,
get to the bus.
understandably, but I'm just saying, like, if you don't reach your goal, like, what is your number to reach to make this work?
Oh, I don't think we have a number to make it work,
Even if it
really.
helps 5 or 10 kids, you can
Yeah,
do
I
the
mean,
six bus ride.
I think
I was just
we've
curious, like-
committed to doing it this year.
So it's not like you will say, oh, we only got 5 people, so you know what, we're not gonna do it.
I don't think we would do that because
We automatically have the
Worse than.
Yeah.
long view.
we already have the Longview kids. Honestly, I think we will evaluate it because if that is the case, then, it doesn't really make sense for us. But our other bus is probably gonna be pretty full because,
Right.
we've got the fifth bus tends to be. So we have to leave a few spaces on each bus. That's why we can't fill them with eligible kids to sort of sprinkle them in. At least this year, we can't. In the future, I don't know, right? Because we always, as I said in here, we always have more eligible students than choose to ride. But if at any point they decide they want to ride,
they can.
You gotta
they can, and they, you know.
Even if they don't fill out the bus forms?
Yeah, because the law says if
Okay,
you're
I was
K
just
through
curious about
6,
that.
you have to do it. That's,
No, it was a very good question.
it's a great question, because that's the challenge, and that's what we try to explain to people, because that's what people say, well, the bus looks like it's
But not
half
in
full.
high school then, if you didn't fill out the forms, that's, you know.
What?
Not in the high school, if you didn't fill out the forms, you can't ride the bus.
Right.
Because we don't have a legal obligation to provide transportation for those students.
It was much less than
I mean, we're going to color-coded bus passes this year.
Yes, I remember that.
So they're not the sticker, they're color coded. So if you're, I don't know what colors Barry's picking, but if you're, you know, bus 3 and it's blue, then you just need to be able to show it to the bus driver, and the bus driver should see that that's the bus you're.
Can you make
Yeah.
them fun and bright colors, Barry?
Have you chosen the colors, Barry, for the bus?
I actually went to the ID Superstore website, picked out some of the colors they had, and I've asked them for a quote. I'm still waiting to hear back
Okay,
from them.
okay.
Nice.
But the second, this little run
Your little
will have
clicker
its
run?
own, yeah, it will have its own color.
Okay.
So it will have its own color. Couple of things we're a little worried about is, you know, we aren't providing supervision, and we are at the school when the bus
Yes.
kids get dropped early,
Not while they're-
but not while they're waiting for the bus. So, you know,
Would
we're,
assume a
we're
parent
we're
would wait
assuming
with
parents
them.
are waiting with them, or having them, a responsible adult.
That's not your responsibility at
Well,
that point, Penny.
we agree with you on one level, we
God
just.
forbid if something does
we just-
happen,
that's right.
it's gonna be the school's
Yeah,
responsibility.
so that's why
If they
it's,
got dropped off on a school property.
well, I don't know.
Not school property, she's saying
No,
at
it's
the
a bus
bus
stop.
stop.
At the apartments, you mean?
At
No,
the-
but
right, but
at
No,
Pearlie.
we're saying we're making
But
a
if they
stop
get
at
dropped off at
Pearlie.
Pearlie,
At Pearlie.
Yes.
because those
So,
are the two spots.
yeah, so we're hoping that people, the bus, there used to be a stop there when they did the shuttle run.
That's right.
I don't know if there were problems, I never heard of any that were in that case, but we need to make sure that people have a bus pass, and we talked to the bus company today about that and said you have to ask people to see their bus pass. Because otherwise, you know, I don't know, hopefully people wouldn't do this, but, you know, we don't want people just kind of dropping their kid off and saying, well, they'll take them to school, we know that they'll
Right,
take them.
right.
It's kind of like the sandwiches and lunch, you know, kind of like, you know, we're gonna feed them.
sandwich.
We're gonna feed them, right, you know, I mean.
To go with the
So we don't,
sandwich of shame.
no, and I mean,
Provide
most
shame.
parents, I think, will, I'm optimistic it won't be a problem, but these are some of the things that we're just kind of watching, we're trying to anticipate. But we anticipate that the other question that will come up will be, well, why aren't you picking the people, if you're going to allow people to ride, why aren't you allowing the people who live the farthest away to get the first priority?
Prioritize.
Right.
And again, we thought the most fair way was, yeah, but, you know, again, in another year, we can revisit it if this doesn't work. Because I get the frustration that parents might have when, you know, my child, I live a stone's throw away, and you know, I'm getting a bus, and, you know, person over here saying, what? You know, I live a mile and 4 miles.
On my front line to get to the bus
But
stop.
I think the people are gonna take advantage of this, because remember the survey results?
Yeah.
There were a bunch of people who said, you know what, if I gotta go out anyway, I'm not gonna bother. However, I think the people who are working parents, that have to get to work earlier, that want their child to ride a bus, would be the ones that would be most inclined to do this, because the parents who don't work, I get their point. You know, why would if I gotta take my child to Longview, or I gotta drive them over to Pearlie, I might as well just keep them and drive them into school, so. But anyway, I wanted you to see that we did follow through on that. And then the other buses for kids that are eligible have already gone out. We've got a box full of them already back, and we're not handing bus passes to people this year. We're gonna, once we know how many kids wanna ride the bus, then Barry and the bus drivers and the bus company, they're gonna put together the routes, and we're gonna mail the bus pass back to the family in the color that they're. Right, Barry? Am I right on that? We're gonna mail it.
Right, Barry? Is there a
Yeah.
big difference between the new software and the old software? Are you noticing any bit of a difference?
There are some things that I'm having to learn how to do. In the old software, everything was just presented as a table. I could export it to Excel and do anything I wanted, just by manipulating in Excel. In this software, it's more limited in what I can just call up for data. Everything that I need for routing is there, but it's not as flexible as what I can call up immediately. But with this company, they have told me, and they've already done it, any kind of report that I need that is missing, get in touch with their tech support, and they will create custom reports for me. So I think it's going to work extremely well. It may be a little bumpy the first year because I don't know what I need. And I think as I learn what I need, they're going to
But it's
supply it.
accessible online, so that is a
And
huge,
we're going to have more people able to access the data, so it's, you know, so the secretaries will be able to access extremely limited data, you know, so they can't answer a whole lot of questions. But I can get in, I can see everything about the children. The people who need to see everything can see everything.
Okay.
and the process will be clear that Barry will handle the initial questions. If they're more procedural or, you know, related to qualifications or whatever, if there is an appeal, it goes to Joan. And then if Joan can't resolve it, then it comes to me. But, you know, in the past, kind of Barry got caught in that spot, and we've decided that, you know, really Barry's greatest gift to us is his ability to sort of do the back end stuff, you know, get us all the information that we need, and it really isn't something he should be necessarily responsible for, because most of the time, you know, the answer is you're not eligible because of distance, right? And we give him the printout and say, this is what the system said, and beyond that, there's really not much more Barry can do. So Joan gets the opportunity to have the conversation with the families. And
so when are you sending the Connect Ed out, tomorrow?
so, yes, so what I'll do when I go home tonight is I'll program it, and I think it should go out tomorrow, now that the link is up there, so people can get it. I'll just tell them it's on the Pembroke website, and that they should go and do that.
Okay,
And then we'll be good to go.
all right.
Any other questions for Barry so he can go home?
Bye, Barry.
Thank you, Barry. Thank you, Barry. Appreciate it. All right.
Okay, we also now have the coordinated program review summary
Yes.
report that we need to go over.
Okay, so Joan and
Julie and
Julie and Donna, come on up. Hello, ladies.
Hi.
All right.
Hello.
Hello, Donna.
So do we want to go with how the summary flows, so we can
Sure, however you want to do it.
talk to
Sure,
Joan
sure.
first about the results?
So I had 10 that they said we needed to improve our compliance efforts. The first couple we were missing homelessness as one of the categories. So that's going to go to governance. We'll redo the school committee policies and add that. Let's see. There's one that we were found not in compliance regarding pregnant
one is it,
students.
though?
Pregnant students, although we believe we are operating compliantly, but for some reason, the policy didn't show the update.
Yeah, we did this, the last coordinated program review. I remember talking about this. Remember, Peter, this whole thing with the pregnant students? Remember this when they had that finding that we asked for the doctor's note? And they said, if you don't ask for a doctor's note for everything else, you can't ask
Right.
for this one. And I remember we revised it. I remember that. And yet, I don't know, it just didn't make it into the policy.
In our policy, it still shows
So when
it,
you
yeah.
say, so this is one of the 5 that is concerning policies, out of the 10?
Right.
Right.
5 concern updating our
Right.
policies,
Right.
okay.
Right, I do remember that
So
that discussion.
homelessness and pregnancy
Yep.
are 2 out of the 5.
Yep. Yeah, I'll tell you. The next one is accessibility of extracurricular activities. Our policy does not address protected categories
Right.
of color and homelessness, again. So, you know, it's just updating the language in our policies.
Okay.
And part of our hiring practices, our statement does not include gender identity and sexual orientation as protected categories. So those are all things that really just need school committee policy
Okay.
change.
And then we just need to make sure that those, whenever we put our information about, you know, we're an equal opportunity employer, we just have to make sure we use the standard sentence or the standard clause, and that needs to be consistent.
done that already?
We have, but they keep changing it.
They changed, well, they added
They add
homelessness.
homelessness.
They really did add homelessness quite
I
recently.
mean, I just seem to recall doing policies that did what you're saying, so.
Homelessness is a
Including
new.
homelessness?
Homelessness
I
is
don't-
new, I think, that as a
well, I-
protected
It was
category.
sexual orientation was the
Right,
one we did
that
the
one.
last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Well,
gender
and
identity
gender
and that.
identity.
So, yeah,
Gender
we've changed that,
identity,
so
we
it's
had- yes,
specifically
yes.
homelessness now that we're talking
Okay.
about.
We have a couple that, we have at least one here that we need to update the principal's handbook. It's regarding student code of conduct.
Which one is
So,
it, Joan? What page? Does it tell you what the bottom of the page?
Page 48.
48, okay. Okay.
So that's something we have to, well, that the principals will have to update. And we haven't had, I wasn't at the admin meeting this week. I was out on Tuesday, but that was something I was gonna bring up at admin. is
Yeah, we didn't talk
need
about
to have a corrective action plan that states how we're gonna fix the handbooks and then bring that language to the state. They'll okay it, and then we'll change the handbooks.
So
I guess
how,
that's how we
so
would
Peter,
do
if
it.
we were to change, and Margaret, we're gonna approve we already approved the
Yeah,
handbooks.
we approved it last meeting.
I'm really confused by that because I distinctly remember when we met with the attorneys, remember 2 summers ago?
Yep.
Or whatever, was it 1 or 2 summers
I
ago?
don't know, the time flies.
We changed our handbook according to that.
Right, and they're saying the
And I remember
procedures,
that too.
the procedures are not included, because I took your handbooks and sent it to the state. So-
Okay, so maybe we need to ask them exactly what they're looking for then, if we do have it in our, because how would they know? Because you don't really have procedures in a handbook.
Well, I did, but I did ask,
Yeah.
and I sent them whatever Margaret and Peter gave me.
Okay, so we probably need some more clarification on exactly what we have to do to make that work. And then, but my question was gonna be, so now that the handbooks have already been approved, how do you make adjustments to the handbook? Do you,
It's all online.
oh, it's all online, okay.
So it's not difficult.
No, it shouldn't.
So we can make adjustments to the handbook, even if we had to make them in September or October.
Oh, good.
So it'd be like an amendment, right?
Yeah. But, you know, in the past, we've always had the hard.
Hard copies, do we
you know.
give hard copies, Margaret? Or do you just have them on your website?
We just had them on the website. The only thing I printed last year,
Is the sign off?
no,
Do they sign them up?
the salient changes about, you know, the food policy and might have even been the whatever last year, they were the major, you know, arrival dismissal, the salient changes, we had hard copies of those, but we didn't print the whole thing, people, you know, access it.
What do you do, Peter?
You have to put a disclaimer legally in there that they have to sign off that they don't want a hard copy. So, we don't give many out, but anybody that does, we give them one.
So you have them printed in hard copy?
Or do you print them off?
If they want one.
If they
yeah, but
want
we don't go through the printer anymore. We-
Okay, because they used to do that regularly, okay.
But the students have to do the sign off. Student and parents have a page that they have to sign off, because I know when the kids have different functions, if that
Yeah.
isn't received, then they don't, like if you go to
Yeah.
prom and that's not
Yeah,
passed in yet. So that,
Yeah,
they have to do that.
okay.
So then at Pembroke, they don't, the parents don't have to sign anything.
And
Acknowledging
again, they never used to. I honestly, I can't remember if we did last year or if we talked about having it this year, a sign off for the handbook.
I would think that there should be one.
There should, but I
Years ago.
really just can't recall.
Yeah.
But it's
I
something
think
we
that
could
is
put in
something we-
place.
We have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
Just
We
to
should
have
do,
it on
just so we
record,
know
yeah,
that
just to
the
have it on.
parents have acknowledged that the
Acknowledge that they've
handbook
read it.
I always
exists and whether or
remember-
not they read it, but
And
they should have
years
to.
ago, we did it at Pembroke
Yeah,
Yeah.
for years and years and years.
yeah, yep.
So it's-
So that's something
Okay.
we can look at for the fall.
Yeah.
The next one had to do with, it's on page 49 and 50, student discipline. And the statement basically says, the district has not developed procedures for education services and academic progress, or a system for periodic review of discipline data by special populations. So I had your name on that. To help me, to help me with that one. So, a school-wide education service plan they're looking for. I don't know if
okay.
that's something you already have.
We do, yeah.
And then, next one is notice to students 16 or over leaving school without a high school diploma, certificate of attainment, or certificate of completion. And the state says that we do not send a letter within 5 days from the student's 10th consecutive absence. And it does not offer at least 2 dates and times for an exit interview between the superintendent and the student and the parent and guardian. That would be something.
So we have to revise the letter?
It sounds like you have to revise the letter.
Okay. Do we have a
And get it
letter?
out in a certain window.
So,
Right.
so.
There is a
Peter-
letter, yep. I think I got it from Guy. I think
Yes.
Guy sent me the
Yeah,
letter.
So we
it
have a
goes
letter.
through guidance. There is a letter and there is a process. I know that's been in place at the high school level specifically for when students are choosing to withdraw, and if those students also have IEPs. Added to that process is meeting with myself or meeting with one of the coordinators and trying to guide them through that process as well.
So this is saying we have to do it within a time frame
10
and
days,
that I'm
5 days,
included,
sorry,
and I'm
5 days.
involved,
5 days
right?
after the
After 10th absence.
And then I'm involved.
Correct. Does nothing about this principal, it's about you.
Does this involve students transferring to, I was trying to figure out, like, student leaving for St. John's Prep, this is students who
Dropping
Uh,
out.
are
Yeah.
dropping out?
Yeah.
Okay,
Right.
it's not a transfer. Okay.
And then the last two, besides the one that we're gonna refute, was regarding an annual curriculum review. That the standard is that teachers annually review the curriculum for bias. And then the last one is an institutional self-evaluation. So as Carol had just said about the Walker Partnership coming in and reviewing special ed, this says we should be reviewing all aspects of our program for looking for bias, see if there's bias. So I don't know who. would-
But who, next,
It
is
says
it
about
talking
individual teachers too, so. when we
Teachers for
do-
curriculum.
Right, when we do that, we do it by department or
Department,
committee. So we have to look at how we would organize language around that as an individual.
Right. And then the last one is the self-evaluation.
Right, and the self-evaluation is the whole, you're saying for every area.
Protected, right, for K to 12, but for all the protected classes.
Okay.
And then the
As
last one,
opposed to just special ed.
right, right, because the Walker Institute just, a partnership just does
Just
special
looked at
ed.
special ed, yeah, okay.
Right, and I'm not sure what other districts do. I went on the districts that I'm familiar with, and I couldn't find anything that other districts do to do this. I don't know how they do it. I'm sure the state will give us some ideas.
Well, and I think it's an informal one, because when I met with the state, we had a discussion about that, and he asked, do you review? And it really is as simple as in your curriculum committees, do you just make sure that the books are guided level books, and, just all our materials are bias-free.
Right.
So I don't think it's necessarily a big formal form, as
Right.
much as we have a process for doing that.
But I think when these kind of things, I agree with Margaret 100%, but I think when these kind of people, when the groups come in, if we have it's just always good to have a sign, every time you do it, you have a sign-off sheet that says, here's simple, when was the language arts curriculum reviewed? And you literally just sign it and date it. Because that's really all they're looking for is, they don't just necessarily believe us.
Well, it
Even
says.
though Margaret said it's informal
I'm not-
process,
I'm
but
not
we should
saying-
sign up.
But there is a formal process. For instance, if we have a checklist of what we look for, when we're ordering grade
Right.
books, when we're
Right.
ordering
Right.
our guided level, if we had a checklist and said,
Right.
then you have that copy.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, perfect. Yep, that's what we need. We just
Right,
need,
so I had no documents to
Right.
submit for them, so I made a statement that we continually review the whole K to 12 program
Right.
to, to
Yeah,
be
they're looking for
bias-free,
proof. They're
but
looking for
I
proof.
had no evidence to show
right,
them that
they're
we did
looking
it.
for proof. Yeah.
Trust
So that's a good that's a good suggestion that you're saying, Margaret, is that we should just have a standard form and with a checklist and sign it off.
And as far as the special ed, regarding the restraint, we did this a year ago. I submitted my documents a year ago, correct? And the new policy was approved by the school committee
December.
in December, and then I was out with my mother when they came to visit. I never met with her.
Right.
And I never had the opportunity to give her the new restraint policy, so I sent it in through the portal when Donna sent her stuff in just last week.
As a
so
response, right?
Right.
Yeah. So that will probably be,
Hopefully that will go away.
Right, so we're refuting that one.
yeah.
Okay.
That's it for me, Dawn.
Well, let's
Okay.
see if they have any questions for you before you're.
Just, so, what did they find regarding the Parent Advisory Council for Special Education?
Okay, so you're-
All right.
Oh, did you have any questions for Joan?
Oh, for Joan, no.
Anybody?
Sorry, I'm just looking at this review summary.
Well, let's go over the
Okay.
summary
Okay,
first.
so now where do you
before
want to go? Do you want to go to special ed or?
Yeah, we'll go to special ed.
Okay.
You want me to just give you a presentation of, give you the
Sure,
highlights?
sure.
Okay. So we had 59 criteria to go through. 7 of those in the draft report came back as partially implemented. We're refuting 4 of them. The 3 that we're not refuting, you know, at the time that we saw the issues, we did corrective action, but we will, of course, once the final report is produced, have to have a corrective action report. But the first one was required optional assessments, and what that is part of a review or evaluation of students. The general ed teachers need to complete a form. It's called Education Assessment B. And they weren't always present in the students' files. So sometimes maybe they weren't passed in or they weren't saved or, you know, so that's kind of a hole where, you know, in cases we'll send the secretaries, the coordinated secretaries out to try and, you know, find those from the general ed. So we'll just have to be better organized at ensuring that they submit those pieces. The second one was determination of specific learning disability. The one area that all members of the team have to sign, go through a standard flow chart and sign agreement is if a student has a specific learning disability of the 9 criteria, and not all members had signed all of the forms in a couple of instances, so that's easy enough to take care of. And the third one was the least restrictive environment removal. So in other words, if you have some of those Grid C services that we've talked about, there's a statement that you have to put in there that justifies why you're pulling them out of the general ed and giving them that specially designed instruction. So in all forms, it was filled out, but it wasn't filled out sufficiently to what the person who evaluated wanted. He was looking for more detail, so. That's fine, that's easy enough to fix. The 4 that we're refuting are, the first one is the initiation of services at age 3 for early intervention transition procedures. So we're very good at that, and we work very closely with the early intervention department, and all of our students have had meetings and IEPs. So all we simply did was gather the data over the last 2 years of the students' birth dates, the dates of the meetings, and the dates that the IEPs were implemented, and we uploaded that as evidence that we're meeting that criteria.
So can you just tell me, so what, if we have that information,
Why
then what
didn't
would
they like it?
lead them to believe we didn't have it?
Well, we kind of tried to make that determination, so, you know, they selected a specific number. I think they went through 40 files, and in one of the files, what we noted was there was an email from a parent that said, I have a 3.5-year-old that I would like to refer, and she talked about in EIP, which is an early intervention plan. So we sort of came to the conclusion that maybe what the person who was brand spanking new, and it was the first one she ran when she came to Georgetown, misinterpreted that, not understanding that the child didn't go through early intervention, that they were already 3 when the child came to our doorstep through a parent referral, and that maybe she confused the early intervention plan with an individual education plan.
Acronym problems.
That was the only thing that we could determine, you know, could possibly have given us that.
Would they
because-
have given you that for 1 out of 40?
Yes, they would.
So do you feel that we did only have 1 out of 40?
I know I know we had 0. That was an error. That child was already 3 and it was a parent referral, so he didn't even go through early intervention. So it
So you're just
was
refuting it
irrelevant
because you're saying that it's not accurate
It's not
information.
accurate, right, and we have the data to back it up, and we submitted that data through the portal for them to review,
Okay.
so.
So is this based on data collected through the district, or were parents
Well,
interviewed
both.
as well?
It was a-
Okay.
Right, there were, like Donna said, they had like at least 40 files that they were just randomly selected.
Yep.
And then parents we had to inform the community that this was happening, so parents were invited. Any parent was invited to contact them directly, and then when they were on site, there, you know, there was a cross-section of parents, teachers, they visited every program, spent time with the teachers in those programs, talked with the teachers themselves, talked with Donna.
I interviewed gen ed teachers, special ed teachers, related service providers, parents, all the administrators.
So could this have
It was-
come up from a parent interview, say?
Sure.
So we don't know that it came.
Well, I actually called up and I spoke to Jane Ewing because we were quite shocked by that. And she specifically cited this case that I just talked to you
Oh.
about.
It was a
So
records,
we-
a records
So
question.
we know that for a fact then.
Yeah,
Correct.
it's a records
Correct.
question, yeah.
Yep.
But if you have the documentation, then, you know,
And we have the documentation, we've uploaded it and submitted it, so.
okay.
The second one was the autism social skills development, and we're refuting that one, and we've submitted evidence that what they're looking for is one, for students who have been diagnosed with autism, there's a series of questions that you have to go through, effectively asking, you know, is there a chance they're going to be bullied? Will their social skills get in the way? All of those types of things. If you answer yes to any of those questions, which you do, because they have autism, what have you put in place in the IEP? So they're looking for a goal for social skills, as well as goals or objectives for helping the students learn to, you know, deal with any potential bullies or social interaction or those different pieces, and looking for it in specific places. So we uploaded documents, and again, I spoke to Jane and she told me the specific student in question and uploaded that student's information that clearly shows that he has a goal. It's in the additional information, it's in the accommodations, and, you know, so the evidence that is in place, as well as giving them some additional evidence of other students and that criteria.
So did they just not see that when they reviewed that one particular student, if it was there?
I guess so. I don't know.
Or could it have been a parent interview, but then you had the data to back up?
That's possible too.
It
So
wasn't-
the other thing that happened, so the person who came, who was in charge of our CPR, it was the first one she was in charge with. Well, she has since left,
Yeah,
and
she
she's
left
working at AIC now, heading up a program. So Jane Ewing has taken it over, and she doesn't really have
She wasn't on
Dixie
site.
to speak to find out. So, you know, we're just kind of trying to piecemeal it. So she would say, well, look for the information based on this student. And I would go look up that information and dig out and say, oh, look, it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
Boom, upload
I would
it.
just think though, if they had a parent interview, a parent mentioned it, they would have access to it and see.
Right, the parent
The
would
evidence.
have the IEP, would have.
No,
They
I'm
would have
saying
the
that
identical
the-
document
the-
we would have,
Right.
right.
Right, but the parent may be speaking from emotion, perhaps.
No, but what I'm saying is, they would be able to look at the IEP.
They would have
Because
a
you
name,
had
they
said,
could put it there.
you had said that you just sent it to them and it was already there, why would they not have taken it from the parent and then go to look at it and say, oh no, it's in there, what do you know? I don't know, that's-
I have no idea. And, you know, sometimes people misinterpret things or misunderstand. Like I said, with the early intervention one, we're wondering what the acronym, the flip-flop of the letters, was that confusing? It's,
But that's why you refute it, right? So they can
Right.
disagree, right? So if you submit
long as
the
you have the
information,
documentation.
but if you submit the
Right,
information and they say, no, that still doesn't do it for us, then we have to respond to the finding.
But then you're
Right.
getting two different objective,
Well, that happens. It's not
you know,
completely
especially if this one
subjective.
has already left, now you're getting someone
Yeah.
else that you have to deal with that doesn't know the operations of that first person.
right, so they're looking for evidence, so it's, you know, a matter of writing a narrative and then uploading the specific documents, you know, to the webpage to do that, which, you know, honestly, I appreciate the fact that they give us the draft ahead of time and give us that opportunity to read through it and verify that information. And like I said, 3 of them were like, yep, we made those little mistakes, you know, in a couple of cases, so, you know, we'll simply just have to put a PD plan in place for that. And, you know, again, we've already had those discussions with people, so.
I mean, we could have waited to discuss this when we had done our whole corrective action plan, but I felt like it was important to just do it so you could see, this is the draft report, and now we're, you know, we're figuring it out ourselves with our staff, and then we're seeing what they say next, and then
Oh,
we'll.
yeah, I think that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, but
I
it's
would
not
like-
done everywhere, Barbie, so
Okay,
just so
but-
you
but I
know, this
do-
is, I agree with you,
But
but.
I do think that
it
this is.
It is
here,
important.
It's the most appropriate way to do it, because to get a corrective action plan, I think that the school committee should definitely have
Absolutely.
had the opportunity to look at the original. To see what
Oh,
was
you would
going
have gotten
on.
the original anyway.
No, but to actually talk to them about it.
Right. This is the right time to do it.
So when do we find out what happens with ones that you've refuted? Like, how long does it take for them to come back?
She didn't tell me that. I could certainly call her and find that information out for you, but I'm not sure. But I do know that once they respond back to us and, you know, whatever they give us as a final is the final, done. We have 20 days then to respond with our corrective action plan. So, you know, it might be done maybe in the next few days. But she did email me yesterday and asked for one more piece of documentation, which I sent her today. So she's actively looking at it clearly. So we could get it maybe next week.
Right, then once it's approved by them, then we have a year to implement it.
The corrective action.
The corrective
plan,
action
yeah.
plan.
I guess my question, and you've largely spoken to it, and I get that one file out of 40, on one hand is, you know, it's a 2.5% error, which is very small. The flip side is, you know, if that's my child, I'm not happy about it, you know, that it matters. Something, and I'm going to say that it's silly, and I think it is, something as silly as a missing signature or a description not descriptive enough.
Mm-hmm.
Why? They seem like, I don't want to say silly mistakes, that's disrespectful, but they almost seem like silly mistakes. And I know you said it's a PD
don't
thing.
disagree
and-
with you.
Okay. Okay.
No,
That's why-
that's
that's-
exactly, I mean, I could give you another example. We had the mid-cycle, I think, 3 years ago, was it? And so we had to go through a whole nother big process, make, you know, get everything ready, and they came in, they did the mid-cycle review. And Barbie and Pam might recall we had one finding on that. And I disputed the finding, but I didn't win that particular dispute, and it was particularly frustrating because it was, and it had to do with a student who's exiting from school, in that you have to notify them within a reasonable period of time, blah, blah, blah. So I took exactly what was in the law, boom. I put it right in our policy, right in our letter, exactly verbatim what was in the law. The finding came back and said, I don't really like the way you've put that in there. I would rather you say in less than 10 days. I can do that, but I put what the law said. So in this case, and I sort of reflect on that with the same, one of the pieces that we have to expand, you know, what we have in there that's appropriate. That was his opinion. He wanted it to be in less than 10 days, even though that's not what the law said. He's in charge.
Right.
So that's what we did.
Okay.
Somebody else could have been like, fabulous. It did what the law said. So, you know, there is, like anything else, there's a little bit of subjectivity to it as well.
Mm.
So there is a gray area.
Yes, there always is.
But then that's not following.
You
know, so it's like they can make up whatever they want at
You have
their
the opportunity to
discretion.
refute, which is the,
Right,
yeah.
right.
And
So-
probably 10
and-
days is reasonable.
Exactly, but
you
if it's
think about
following
it.
the law, you would think, okay, that's the law, then.
I know, but.
Mm. The bottom bottom line is, we have to comply, but they don't. Right.
Well, it's kind of like, you know,
Yes,
it's an
I can tell you've
external,
done
it's an
this.
external review. It's an external review, and the review is objective and subjective, based on who's reviewing it. It's just like a NEASC report.
Right.
If people who come for NEASC are all practitioners, right? So when they come in, they have their own opinions, even though there's a set of standards that they need to look at evidence for. They can't help completely without bringing some of their own bias and some of their own expectations. So sometimes you get a review, you get a report, and you say, gee, like that just doesn't make sense to me. But it's because the group that was reviewing it, that was what they felt was important. So, right, so it's external, but, you know, sometimes you're gonna agree and sometimes you're not gonna agree 100%. And as long as we can provide the documentation and live by our, what we say we're doing, no good to have a policy that you're not implementing, then it's fine. But, you know, that's why these are external evaluations, and we try to make them compliant be compliant with them, but we also know there's some flexibility within the actual implementation of them. That's why they don't
It's not
just.
changing what we're doing for kids, we're still
Right,
doing the right
exactly.
thing by kids.
That's right.
So,
And that's why they don't just look at records. That's why they go talk to people. That's why they go look at programs. That's why they talk with kids. That's why they talk with teachers. Because they want to make sure that what we say in our policies is what we're actually doing.
right. And if you look at the autism social skills piece, I mean, I brought my whole social emotional team here to speak with you, and you can see that we have a significant program in place, and we have curriculum, and we do all the right things by kids. So we're not making sure that they have what they need. And we do have that in that particular student's IEP. So, you know, we're people and they're looking at the stacks of paperwork that were in my conference room. You just can't even imagine.
It's crazy.
You know, so they might have missed something or misinterpreted something, and that does happen. So.
And was there one more, Donna?
There was two more. One was the Parent Advisory Council for Special
That's what you wanted to know
Education.
about, yeah.
So, apparently, from a parent interview, a parent had said that there weren't any meetings, which in fact we know that we have meetings every month. We have, you know, various types of workshops and presentations and meet with the CPAC chair. And so all I had to do with that was upload all of the different agenda items and the letter that went out that goes out every September to the families, and just to show evidence. And, you know, so that was one parent who said that, and they had showed up at one meeting all year. So,
But we do have we are working on this CPAC now. There are some folks that are interested in, you know, taking on some of the leadership with that. They're having a meeting coming up to do something with
15.
Yeah, so they've invited people to come to the meeting, to nominate people that want to maybe be officers, and they'll hold an election, and then they'll work on the bylaws, and then they're planning a whole series of workshops for next year is what I'm hearing, so I think it's going to
Right,
get a
so
little more
So, yeah, I
active
think
again.
June 15th is the election day. It will be at Dunkin' Donuts. There's a morning session from 9:15 to 10:15 a.m. and then an evening from 7:15 to 8:15 p.m. And
Is
there'll
it
be
at Dunkin' Donuts too?
Yes.
The evening?
They're both at Dunkin' Donuts. There'll be a ballot box and ballots, and you can come and fill out, and I'll be there, man the ballot box. And
So we know it will be above board.
Right,
Can you do
right.
that at a public place? Have a.
Sure.
As long as
Yeah.
as long as you buy enough coffee. That
Okay, exactly. And
I'll be
donuts.
buying coffee. Sounds good to me. And if you'd like your name on the ballot, like you can get in touch with the CPAC
Yes.
up to a certain date.
So
I
who do you
should have
get in
written
touch
the
with in the
date.
CPAC?
Check the CPAC Facebook
Website?
page,
Okay.
website. Well, not the
There's,
website.
there's someone, there's an individual that, if you're interested in a position, then you would let that one individual know?
Yes. If somebody knows
I think it's on the
Elizabeth.
flyer. I think it's on the flyer, right? Who?
Yeah.
Desiree Edwards.
Yes.
I think that they've narrowed it down to an election, and I don't think anyone's running opposed.
At this time,
At this
right.
time.
But there was a date, and I regret, I don't remember what the date was, that if you wanted to run, if you wanted to, you know,
Right. Just
Yeah.
because
you
I'm
still,
putting
you
that
can,
in
you
my
can put
this-
your name on the ballot.
I-
If nobody does, then it will be two people running unopposed for,
Treasurer.
chairperson and treasurer, yes.
Yeah.
So there are candidates, and if nobody else puts their name on the ballot, they will be running unopposed.
Yeah.
But if somebody would like to put their name on the ballot, they're very
Yeah,
welcome to.
yeah, and I approved that flyer, so I know that was
Yes.
definitely inviting
Is it June 13th?
people to, that I'm not positive, but it was inviting
So they can go to the Facebook
people
page.
to join on
Yeah.
if they're interested in running, or suggesting anybody to run.
Yes.
Right, so bottom line, over the last 4 years that Shelby Walker Smith has been the president of the CPAC, she's done an excellent job for 4 years with monthly meetings, follow the laws specifically. We've collaborated with other communities, so it was really just a matter of uploading all of that documentation that we have. And then the last one was the program evaluation, which was rather shocking since, as Superintendent Jacobs just said, we had the Walker Partnerships come in and they evaluated our program. So I uploaded that report, as well as a department, we evaluate our programs every year at the end of the year. Anyway, I've given you our program description guide with the exit and entrance criteria. And so we evaluate our students and ensure that our programs are continuing to meet the needs of our students and that they're functioning as they're described to do. And so I uploaded the documents from the last 2 years for that as well. So I really don't have concerns with those 4, and the other 3 were small things that we've addressed already.
And I will tell you, I've gone through a lot of program reviews, and usually there's a lot more findings in this. And usually it's not partially implemented. Usually a finding is it's not implemented at all. So the fact that these are partial, I think, and you could do your homework and check in with some other districts on when they've had coordinated program reviews. The first one we had when I first came here had like 50 findings. It was significant. So there's been a lot of progress in special ed under Donna's leadership and people who've come before her. And I don't know why it was that way, but there were a lot of findings initially, and we were spending every 2 years doing updates. I think special ed program's always been great in Georgetown, but the compliance review just was more problematic 10 years ago for whatever reason. And this is a good report. I can tell you that for a fact.
That's great. Great.
So do you want to hear from Julie?
Yes.
Ready to hear from Julie?
Absolutely.
Julie's is pretty easy.
Mine is pretty easy. We had 18 legal standards and about 54 criteria, reference points based within those. The ELE program has changed completely at the state level over the course of the last 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
And so we followed the progress of that change and just implemented all of their changes into our program reconstruction, I would say, within the last 3 years. So we had one partial finding, and actually you'll see my letter there on the back. I responded to the state because what they were looking for was a form, a specific state letter that we would use to identify a particular student for ELL services. But we actually use that form. So I don't know why they didn't see it, but I told them basically, when you go into the binder, I had to implement I couldn't upload like you could. They wouldn't allow the ELE programs to upload. So we had to provide hard copy materials of everything. And so this letter is in my binder in tab 4 and tab 10. So maybe they were looking for it in tab 17, I don't know. But it was in the other 2 places, so I just identified where it was located. So hopefully that'll be.
Yeah, and I sat, and then we had another audit, the Title II.
Title 2A and Title I.
Title I, Title 2A.
Yeah, three.
And that also went really, really well. In fact, I just talked today to a guy named Ron Noble on a question about our evaluation, how we need to report on impact on student learning. Just to clarify with him where we were with that. Anyway, he made sure to go out of his way to compliment us on our mentor program, and he actually sent someone out from the state to spend some time here looking at the program and learning about how it was done, and he made sure that he told me that the person learned a lot and that a lot of the things that we're doing here they're definitely considering to be models, and that they're looking forward to spreading them out in a statewide fashion. So I thought that was something you should know about, that was kudos to everybody working on the mentor program, Amanda Gerard, Julie, Heidi Monjo in the past. It's just evolved into a really nice program now.
Amanda's done an awesome job with that.
And Amanda's really done a great job.
She has been such a cheerleader for that program.
Yeah.
There's no question about it. And that person came and went through our mentoring and induction rounds with Amanda and walked with the new teachers through classrooms and learned about how we implemented that. Mm-hmm. And learned a lot, which I thought was great. That came out of our Title IIA review. We have other grants as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that they noticed the
They
work
did.
that's been
They-
put
they
into that
absolutely did. They were
program,
very-
and that Amanda was able to really show it
Yeah,
off.
they were very happy with that.
We're all happy that this is over too, in a sense, because it's taken over much of our.
This is
Our
a
year.
huge process. These,
Yes,
these,
it is. It's
every
huge.
6 years, and it is a huge process. And as I said, you know, I mean, continuous progress, that's what we're hoping for.
Just have to question this process, not just that process.
But we wanted you to, you know, to have an opportunity to see it as soon as we, you know, had a chance to look at it. And, you know, I do want to recognize and thank not only the 3 people sitting here, which did a yeoman's amount of work, but all, you know, Sandy and Allison and you know, Margaret O'Hare and people who spent, you know, time on Saturdays and evenings pulling together the documentation, and then, you know, thank all the staff and the parents and everyone who participated in it, because as I said, it's a huge undertaking, and you know, it's always an opportunity for us to learn something, and it as we always talk about, it's always about continuous improvement, right? If we can make it better, then we need to make it better, and this information really helps us with that. Because obviously sometimes we, you know, we don't see it ourselves, and it is good to have somebody from the outside sometimes come in and help us. But I, as a superintendent who's been through a lot of these in different places, I have to say that when I got this, I wasn't really surprised, because when we had our exit interview, even though they don't tell you exactly what they find, because of course they want to go back and look at it and all the notes, the feedback that I thought I received that day with everybody was positive, and so I was not expecting anything that was going to be, and she specifically said, you know, you shouldn't be expecting anything serious, and believe me, if there was, we'd know it. This is as I said, I think this is a good report.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we have subcommittee reports. Budget and finance, we haven't
met.
Governance,
No, we were supposed to meet yesterday, but that got changed to 22nd.
Right. And Joan's coming. Joan, you're coming to that, right?
22nd.
To governor?
3 o'clock.
I think, yeah, you're coming, and Heather's coming too, right? Because we want to talk about the meals charging policy again, I think. Is that right? Is that what we're going to talk about?
there were other things too that.
There were.
Yeah, well, we're going to talk about all of Joan's policies, the
Right.
policies that we just
For
talked
civil
about here,
rights.
civil
Yeah.
rights.
But then there were.
What was the other one?
last,
Technology?
meeting.
No.
No, we finished that.
Well, no, we're still going to have to redo.
Technology, we have a
Personnel.
number, but we thought we'd do that in the
Personnel.
fall.
Right. That's it, yeah.
I don't know, Laura saying.
Right, in
Again?
regard to.
Oh, the
executive
fingerprinting?
Session. Yes.
Oh, that one. Yeah. I know what you're talking about now.
I'm still lost, but I'll get caught
Yeah,
up.
yeah. Yeah, we should get Naomi's thoughts on that, because she's the one that made the recommendation that we should think about that, yeah.
Okay.
And negotiations.
We have not met.
Gotta leave
No?
some.
Okay. So when are these effective, Laura? The changes in, the subcommittees?
July 1st.
Sort of last meeting's coming up.
Okay, because we are entering into the period of the, superintendents negotiating your compensation.
Oh, yep,
So,
yeah, we are, that's correct. So who's gonna do that then?
Cheryl and I.
Karen. Who? You and Cheryl?
Cheryl and I,
Okay, fine. Cheryl and Barbie.
Public relations,
We met last week, was it?
On May 31st, so,
On May 31st.
yes.
With a local PR
Oh, yeah, that's right.
firm. Just informational, I think, more than anything.
Yeah.
right,
But nothing's come out of it beyond that.
okay.
Right.
The later start time, we did have the forum, and then we did introduce the survey this past Monday.
Yes, we did.
Many coming back?
Well, what did
Are
we
you
just
getting a
say,
decent-
400?
400 something
400?
on the parent
Combined,
side.
oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, that's all
400 on the parent side.
200 something on the student side.
And
I think
130 staff.
130 on the,
Yeah.
on the staff.
So that's
teacher
pretty,
side.
that's pretty good for just having out for a, you know,
Wow.
a short
What
period
was
of time.
this? I'm sorry, I didn't catch
It
the.
was 400, 200, 100.
So I think we had said that,
Rounding.
that we were gonna do that through the 17th, right? I think Friday
Yeah,
the
next Friday.
17th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were gonna try to meet tonight to go over the results, because we originally thought we were gonna get them out on May 31st. So
Right.
I think we'll try to meet next week so we can take a look at the results and then go from there in terms of how we're gonna get the data out to the people. But I do appreciate everybody taking the time to take that. It didn't take long. I know the teachers
No.
have told the kids like 10 minutes. I don't even think it's taken that long.
So there wasn't a meeting today?
No.
There wasn't a meeting
Oh,
tonight,
okay.
no. No, because it just went out, so there wasn't really much, we wanted to, it
So did,
has a whole
did you
nother
guys
week.
take it?
We did, well, I
And
did,
so how
yes.
long did it, was it pretty
5
quick?
minutes, I
Yeah,
think.
it was
Yeah.
long.
Okay. Good. I was just curious about the perspective from,
Yeah, well, I
somebody who
think,
took it.
I think it was, good that we, did that trial.
definitely.
Took a couple of, staff members,
Yes.
a couple of parents, and,
Because you
Um,
got more
students.
feedback for rewording and so forth.
yeah, that was
yeah.
good.
Can I just take a sidebar to this as that we're talking about surveys? I know that the surveys for the athletic department had gone out and we all had the opportunity. Who reviews those? And,
think-
and what
it
ha-
sounded
I think
like it
they're
was the
going to the
athletic
athletic
director.
director.
just the, with who?
Probably with the coach. Probably with the coaches that are getting the feedback.
And is that going to be,
Hopefully the data will be released.
well, that's what I'm saying. So will the data
I
be
think we have
released?
to, I think we have to think about that, because we did say that the reason for the data was to give the coach the feedback, right? To be used in their goal setting and to help the athletic director do an appropriate evaluation of the coach. I don't know that we ever committed to, we don't release teacher information publicly, so I don't know if that's necessarily,
But we don't really
Our
take
goal.
surveys about teachers.
Right.
Like in-
So
like
this
we-
was a
we would have a
survey
district
that went out to the
satisfaction
public.
I don't want to make any promises on that right now. I
Okay.
think we need to talk about that. I think it's a great question, Suzanne. But again, I'm not, I sort of look at it as part of the evaluation process. When teachers are getting evaluated by or contributed to by the students, the teacher gets that evaluation and the principal has access to it, but we don't publicly
No, but
release
you were asking
information.
parents as well as students
Yeah,
to
but I
fill
don't
out
know.
this survey. So usually at the end you have this with the results.
I think the
type
purpose
thing.
of what we talked about, I just was at the meeting when we conceived of this.
Mm-hmm.
Parents felt that they wanted to have input into giving feedback to the, there was some concern about the coach not getting feedback from parents. That's the intention. It's not necessarily now that we take that information and put it out to the public as to what people felt about the coach. That's probably not where we were thinking that went. It was really to give the feedback to the people who needed it, which was the athletic director, the principal, the coach, so that they can take it and work on their goal setting. Right? So that's kind of how we envisioned it, honestly, was because right now we had no vehicle unless the parents took the time to give the coach their individual feedback, right? So I think that was the discussion. So let's think more about that
Yeah,
before we do
yeah.
that. I'd be reluctant just to
No, I understand you're reluctant,
promise
but
right
I'm
now.
just curious to like the direction that it's going to go
Yep.
in based on the information.
Yep.
And if there's going to be a direction.
Yeah, so I think the direction
we're
we were.
relying that,
Yep.
I'd like to know if there's going to be a direction.
Well, and what I'm telling you is of what I believe the direction is, and that's
Okay.
why I want to think about it a little bit more, is that the intention of that, when we sat and talked about it in terms of, because the feedback came in that, gee, the parents don't have any input into giving the coach any feedback unless they take the opportunity to do it personally, and we said
Right.
people wouldn't necessarily do that.
Because they want
So-
an anonymity.
So we said, so let's, just like a customer service satisfaction, right? So, okay, so we said, well, let's put together the survey and then let people do it anonymously
Yeah.
so that they won't be worried that,
Any repercussion
Any
for
repercussions.
this athlete.
but it
Yeah.
was to give the coach the feedback and the athletic director to get the feedback so that they could use it to determine their evaluation, because parents don't evaluate coaches.
Right.
Right, and they don't evaluate teachers really, so that's how we saw it, as this is just an opportunity to increase the voice of the parents and to give coaches and the people supervising the coaches some information. So that's what we're thinking of right now.
Offline. Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm happy to hear people's perspectives, but I think if we put ourselves in the position of a coach, we might see it differently.
But the timeline, this is just my
Yeah.
personal observation of what you said, is the timeline is off then, because if we're gonna utilize the information that the surveys produce, but the evaluations have already been done on the coaches for
Right.
this past season, so.
Remember, we're in a transition, right? When this all came, we were in the process of having the process that we were using. This was a new thing we added. So this is gonna evolve, for sure. And you're right, I think the timeline is off this year, but it shouldn't be off for the future. What should happen is, right after the coaching,
sport.
right after the season ends,
Yeah.
the stuff goes out, and then the feedback comes in.
It was tedious to do, you know, if you
Yeah,
have three
yeah.
sports and you have three kids.
That's not the way it will work in the
Right.
future. It will literally be at the end of the sport. You'll have the opportunity, and then that information will be used by the coach
Yeah.
and by the AD.
And by Peter,
and Peter will have access to it as well. And then that will be
I
utilized.
appreciate having the opportunity to take that survey.
That's what we understood people
Well,
saying that they
I
wanted.
appreciate
I do
taking
have-
it too, but I would just.
I do have two
I would
kids
like
though
to
on
know what the-
one.
No, what I
team.
wanna
was
know,
only
right,
able to
Barbie?
do
Like,
one.
where's
Yeah,
it
but
gonna
I don't
go?
know that we're gonna be able to agree on that, so we'll have to discuss it.
Safety committee, we met today, we had a busy day talking about transportation, which we already pretty much talked about. We did talk to the fire department about the, issues surrounding the Memorial Day
Yeah.
event that took place at Pembroke. We were over the limit. Margaret, I know when I first heard about this, the first thing, I think I said it to you, was why wasn't it outside? And I'm not remembering what you said.
We didn't even think about it outside. What if the band was playing, you know, kids are playing their recorder, so if we plan it outside and then have to move it in,
Yeah.
that just doesn't, it just doesn't work, you know.
Just in years past, we've always done it outside. Do you remember?
Yeah,
Like
it's
the-
always
the-
been
the
outside.
kids-
Always been
all the
outside.
kids were
Yeah.
always outside and.
There's
and-
been maybe one year that they've had to move it in.
Yeah.
But generally,
it's always
it's been
But
out.
like the,
Yeah, the band would be outside,
The band
too.
would be
Everything was
outside, and the
outside.
interesting thing is people were saying, at the old Pembroke, the entrance was awkward, because the kids would be in the front and the parents would be around
The
looking at them, but
sides.
now
Yeah.
with the new school and it's so open, that it was like the perfect.
Yeah, I mean, the
opportunity to
wiring
have
was
it
all
outside.
out, the sound system
Oh,
was
everything was.
out, outside.
Yeah, and there were a
know.
few really, really hot days too, but
Yeah.
I don't remember it ever being in. If you remember one
The
time
kids,
that had to be in.
you know,
but-
like where the road is, you know, in the old Pembroke or in the front, so where the overhang is, the kids would literally sit on the tar. Yeah, yeah. So we'd have to think about where that could, if we did do that, where it could happen.
Spider, that's okay.
Yeah, because that is a concern now with the occupancy
So you're limited to.
situation. Yeah. So we talked about the upcoming play and things like that. I wonder too, do we have a plan B for tomorrow night's play?
What do you mean?
Has anybody asked you that, if there's like an alternative plan?
What do you mean,
What,
Barbie?
are there too
Well,
many people?
Yeah, just today speaking to people, they were saying there should be 2 performances.
Oh, okay.
Um,
That's what you're saying.
You know,
I
tomorrow
discussed
evening,
that.
like back to back.
I discussed that with Ms. Carroll. Students they had one play this morning for half the student population. There's another play tomorrow for the other half of the student population, and a play tomorrow night. So when we discussed it, and Ms. Carroll's been doing this for many, many years, her feeling was the students just would not have the stamina for another performance.
I
In
think
the same
three
day.
Well, I do,
performances
yeah, I
is
actually thought the same thing, and I'm saying
enough.
if you don't have 100% participation from the kids, it's not gonna work. If you don't have every single kid say, yes, we'll do another one. But I don't know why this seems like it's such a, like, I've had 3 kids go through do the Pembroke play, participate, and I don't recall there being a question as to the, you know, if whether or not people will be able to go. So
I think
was
it's,
that?
Is
I
there
think-
less occupancy?
Well, what was the number, Barbie? What was the
The
number today?
number
Yeah,
was-
It was eight, no,
No,
it was
485.
485, that sounds right. So 485. So
485 in the cap.
in the cap.
Oh.
So I, to Barbie's point, I don't know that anybody ever counted, so I don't know how many people used to, I mean, I don't know if there were 400 people in the
Do we know the
cap
square
before.
footage of the old cap versus, I
Well,
mean, sure, the
we were
building
That's
does.
more than.
It's
the
comparable.
high school
It's
auditorium will
comparable.
take.
I feel like the new cafeteria is smaller.
It looks that we thought.
I know, but yeah, I think it's the shape of it, but I remember having this discussion when we were talking about building it, because I remember saying you're gonna have a much bigger, student population, why wouldn't we have a much bigger cafeteria? But it has to do with the, dimensions that are recommended, and they said that cafeteria is the right.
Suitable for that
Yeah,
amount of
for that
kids.
amount of kids. And they actually said that the old Pembroke was actually a little bigger than was necessary. So that's why they said it won't feel a lot bigger, but it's
And we had 500
within-
kids at the
Yeah, we had
time,
like
roughly.
530 at the most that I can remember. So now it's 730, right? Right in that ballpark.
So it sounds like the cafeteria occupancy is more than the gym?
No,
No,
the gym
the
is
gym is
800
800
something.
But the cafeteria
Yeah.
occupancy
830, I
is
think.
more than the high school auditorium.
What is the high school
But the high
auditorium
school auditorium was like
occupancy?
450? No?
Just
No.
over 400, I think.
Okay, yeah, so less, so, and we're saying what,
There was a
4,
350 number, but
Yeah,
that
but
was-
when-
85.
when-
85?
Yeah.
So that's,
Hold on, let me do it. I know I
that
have
takes
it in
more,
here.
I think I have it too if you don't, Barbie.
Yeah, the architecture.
485 in the cap.
right.
I just
That's a
don't,
lot of
it just
people.
seems to me that, I don't recall this being like such a.
Well, I don't know if we
A
ever
hot
had 485
topic.
in the, I don't know that we're gonna get 485.
Right.
If we don't have to count the kids, because they're in the back.
think it would
be all
right with that
I don't think we used to have 485
Never an issue.
people. I mean, it used to
Yeah,
be packed in there, remember? I mean, it was,
Yeah, because
chairs
I
were
know
everywhere.
families
People were
And
standing
people
in the
will always
back.
stand around, but I don't know if I remember thinking it was ever 400 people.
Well, I mean, again, I don't know if the fire chief ever showed up, I think that's.
No, I don't think they
So
did.
did you
but-
sell tickets this time or?
No.
But did you limit them? I know we talked today about, so
Well,
was
that
the
was the sixth grade.
recommendation?
For
Oh, so that
tomorrow?
was
That
for the
was-
moving on ceremony?
Originally, you
Oh,
had,
the original, that
yes.
was originally for the moving on ceremony.
But for the play, you haven't, as a principal, said, we recommend you bring, a maximum of 5 people.
No.
That has never been stated.
But there was a sign up.
okay.
We did send out, remember I
Yeah.
mentioned that we sent out a Connect Ed asking people just to indicate,
Yeah,
it's not a
not-
reservation, just
tickets.
indicate when you're likely to come. Knowing that there is, we're limited by occupancy.
So do you know what that number is?
I don't know, Barry has access.
Oh, see, no, we shouldn't have let Barry go home.
I know, cause I signed up for the non-reservation for tomorrow night,
Right.
so I don't know. But so Barry could tell if we're at occupancy or under.
Yeah.
So hopefully
Yeah.
it's not gonna be a problem, because it would be very unfortunate if people had to be turned away. But honestly, the fire department is very serious about the capacity issue, so
Well,
we
and
should just let
as he
people
said today, and
know.
we want to make sure that people know this, it's not because
No.
I'm using the word jerk because he
Yeah.
said it. We're not trying to be jerks. We want, safety is their primary concern. I
And
totally
they know
agree with
that they know that they want these, we all want the same thing. We want parents to be there, we want kids to get support. We love these activities. We were all in agreement, and they are too, and that's why they said that sometimes they haven't been as
Yeah,
strong as they
sticklers
could have
about-
been.
But I
about
do
things, but-
think that more than 3 performances would be too much for students
a
that age
lot
or
for
for
Yeah,
older.
I do agree with that, but I'm wondering how the message then is getting out there, because talking to some people today, they were like splitting up their family, like the dad and siblings were going tomorrow
What's to
morning.
determine, who's
And
determining
then,
if
and
there's too
that
many
to me is
people?
unfortunate.
If they're not being
If they're not going.
counted,
Well-
who's determining if there's too many people?
Well,
Well,
we're
we
going to
talked
put
about
out
that.
a certain number of seats, and then
Once they
when
get
those
filled
seats
up.
are filled, and I think, in talking with Mr. Anderson, there might be 360 seats. So when 360 seats are filled, that's 360 people, and then it's,
And it's
And
counting.
it's counting who's standing. Okay.
or just saying, you know, letting people in the door and just keeping track of how many people you're counting, and then,
Maybe you should just, have a ticket in the future, and then you'll have an exact count of,
oh, you mean you have to get a ticket in advance? you mean?
Yes, in advance, and still having tickets at doors, but, you'll have a very specific number.
Well, we get tickets for the high school plays,
Mm-hmm, right.
right?
We have to pay for those.
Different seating.
I mean, those are
You buy
paid
them in
for.
advance.
Yeah.
Yeah, my hope is that the angst that I'm sensing is all for
Is
naught.
done.
And
Yeah.
tomorrow night, everything is gonna be wonderful.
That's my hope also.
I'm sure it is,
I'm
but
sure it
I
will be.
I mean, it's the
hate to think
first
that
year
it's-
in the new building, right, so we're
Right.
trying to figure these things out, right?
Exactly.
Well,
Right.
the other thing too is the folks who determine the requirements for square
The
footage.
architects, yeah.
They don't understand the importance of school-wide gatherings.
Right.
And, responsive
You would
classroom.
think they
and-
would, they usually
well,
are
no, I
architects
think-
specifically for schools.
I wouldn't
so
say
you
that's
think.
true, I think they do, the problem is they're working with specs, right? They're working
It's a
with,
state-
it's
it's
a
an
state,
MSBA
it's an MSBA number.
Which you would think
Work with this
MSBA would
number.
recognize.
So they do
School.
get, they do get it, but,
Right.
and they're applying a formula, it's as simple as a formula.
MSBA will pay for a cafeteria,
It's-
Of
it's-
excise for excise school.
Because we had that conversation with the gym, remember, the people in town really wanted to have a much larger gym.
Right.
Because they could see the value of how it could be used, and they said, the MSBA said, no, this is the size gym you can build. Now, I guess if the town had wanted to push that, then the problem would have been that
They have to
yes, not just for the gym though, I guess it increased the whole square footage, and then that increased the cost of the overall
When we
project.
built our new high school in Beverly, we had probably 1,250 students, and we had a small auditorium, maybe 800 student auditorium. It got smaller with the project because they added handicap seats and handicap
Yeah, have to be
aisles,
bigger.
Right.
and they never enlarged the footprint.
We dealt with that with the gym.
Gym, yeah.
Right,
with
so,
our
and it
seating.
was all about the MSBA.
Well, and the codes.
And the codes.
When you
Right.
change things, you then
Right,
have to live up to
but it was
codes.
we couldn't expand because of the MSBA.
Yeah.
Well, we could, but you
You
pay.
have to pay for
You
it.
pay a lot for it,
Yeah.
yeah, so.
Yeah.
So hopefully you're right, Barbie,
Barbie.
the angst will be, but I do think that some people are coming during the day though, and that's for some people that is convenient. I mean, that's nice that they opened that up this year, because that was never the case in the past, you couldn't come during the day. You
Oh,
had-
see, I thought we could.
Sorry.
Oh, I don't know.
Generally
could.
speaking, it wasn't as big, I don't think you were invited in the
Yeah.
same way, I mean, some parents still did, but,
I think we had probably about 40, I'm just guessing, but probably about 40.
Today?
Yes. So
then you have
that's
tomorrow
great.
morning too.
And then maybe, I assume tomorrow we'll have a number that will come in the morning, and then, again, it is a fifth grade place, so it's not a school place, so that does kind
Right,
of limit
right.
a little bit, the numbers. So I'm optimistic also that we'll be within that, but it is, just something to put out there that we are limited. It's not me limiting, the fire chief he's very,
Sure.
very concerned that, he doesn't want an overflow.
Right.
And we just would also ask people when they park to please park in the designated parking areas, because
And don't make
we're
it-
having a lot of damage that's being done because people are parking on the grass and
Creative parking.
creating their own parking, and
Creating
it's become it's been hard to
Keep up with it.
keep up with that. So really, and by the way, not in the front of the school and not in the no parking zones, because that's another thing we talked about at safety today, that people, are gonna get ticketed. And
Well, they're gonna draw out the fire line.
we're gonna make the fire lane, yeah,
Paint it out.
clear.
Oh,
You know,
that's a very
they're
And the
gonna put that
suggestion
out.
was made, maybe we put cones out so people would know, okay,
Right.
you can't go there. But, that's what they're concerned about, is that it's really in case of emergency.
Well, the cones worked at Pearlie, because even
Yeah,
though
yeah,
very pleasant emails went out about parents cannot pull up to the
Kiosk?
curb.
Oh,
Yeah, by the kiosk. Took at least a month. People still did it every day,
Mhm.
and then the cones came out, and now nobody's doing it.
Mhm.
So
Cones make
cones came
business.
Well, it's hard to
Yeah.
read every single email, Just kidding.
there were multiple.
all right, so it was a busy meeting.
That was a busy meeting. Okay, Baker Adams is all done. We had a very successful last meeting, and that was a great graduation. School building committee, you went, this was last week?
Yes, this, well, it
No,
was the
just
seventh,
Monday?
just
This week.
Tuesday.
Just this
Yeah,
week.
this week.
Yes, school building committee. So we met first about the high school, and we discussed again the sound issue in the chorus room. The MSBA indicated that they had sent consultants, which tested all the different frequencies, and they found that only a small bit of high-pitched sound gets through to the upper room.
Yep, that's what they said.
They recommended that a white noise maker, such as a fan, should cover the noise. They said the only fix would be a
So
false
the
floor.
fan upstairs in the room that they're hearing?
Yes.
So they're thinking that would drown out the
Yes,
high,
that's what they said.
or else pay $50,000.
Or else pay over $50,000. And the thing
banned.
about the over
Yeah.
$50,000
But they weren't sure
is
even
that it might not even work.
Yeah, that's what they
A
weren't even sure.
$50,000?
Yeah, because they
right.
think it's coming up off of the windows. They think it's coming up and going up off the windows. So that the floor is already concrete, right? Wasn't that what they
It's
said?
already concrete, so I don't know if they'd add more concrete or.
That's what they would do.
I mean,
They would
There
have-
is no plan, I'm hoping that this is a rumor, that there is no plan to move those kids back to the auditorium during times. Is that a rumor?
Oh, wait a minute though. Are you saying
Okay.
during testing times? What?
Yeah, like
Finish
if
that
there
up.
was testing or
That's
a
what I
time
heard
that the
too.
teachers upstairs were complaining that they're like, oh, we'll just go in the auditorium. I'm like, that's what we were trying for years to get you away from. I would hate to think that now they're gonna be back there.
Do you ever wonder who starts these rumors?
Probably you.
I'm very disappointed in the architect, to tell you the truth, and that they would put that room where it is. It looks like we're gonna have to live with it.
We had to have a say in it though, did we not? The school building committee?
I don't think anybody knew to ask that question, Barbie.
Who would
You know,
think?
I mean, the room has to go somewhere.
I think there was concern about, I think there was concern
Yeah,
about,
where would it have gone that it would not have affected, like in your building? Where do you think?
I don't know.
the theater arts.
But again,
I
to
would
what you
have,
said,
for me, I
Bob,
would
the
have put it near,
architects-
I would have put the
The
theater arts
band room is like off
Yeah,
to
off
its-
to the side,
off
yeah.
to itself, and I don't know, I just would assume that they, you know, that's
But
their
with that amount of
business.
kids in the class, with 50 some odd kids singing, that can be quite loud, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's directly above or below 2 classrooms, and you hear it.
So the discussion I remember is that where they put it there was they needed to make sure, they were more worried about what was happening right next to them on that floor. So they put the double walls in and the insulation and everything so
Acoustics.
that the person in the room right next to
Room is not
them,
air conditioned, so if you open the window, then it's 10 times worse.
well, cause you hear, cause you
Oh,
you
'cause
hear
you're hearing
you
it more,
hear
right.
Yeah.
Well, that's a shame.
It is a shame. But the $50,000 fix isn't necessarily even gonna help if it's coming up over through the windows. So, I mean, you could block the windows, but that's not right either. That's, so.
Now, is
but
that
they-
an option?
they did-
Is the committee looking at that as
What?
as a possibility?
At this time, I wouldn't necessarily say so, but
No.
they did, recommend trying to see what a white noise,
Yeah.
fan or something would do. I mean, to, maybe give it a try.
I mean, I like to talk to the teachers that are talking about, because it sounds like the issue is more
I
when
don't
they're
know
giving a
exactly.
test, when it's like silent. That when the teacher's teaching and the kids are working, they're not hearing
hearing
it.
it as much.
It's because they have done some things to try to mitigate it. And to my understanding is when they went in and they sat there during those times, both in the upstairs rooms and the downstairs rooms, and did their little decimal meters and everything, that it was within the, what you'd hear anywhere else. It's those high-pitched sounds, as Pam is saying, that they said they couldn't, and they think it's because it's coming up off the glass. So like Ellie Sinkowitz teaches at Haverhill High School, and she was telling us that her home ec room is right above
It is.
the band.
So she really does.
And so, no, not really, because what she's.
Because she puts up with it.
Because
Kids
she's
fall.
teaching too, but what she said was, I have a fan, and that the fan does drown.
Okay.
It's just enough It just
I'll have to try it out.
drowns it out.
Get like
Yeah,
10
maybe try it
fans up
out.
there.
So I think we should at least try it to
Right,
see if it
and
makes a
then, you know,
difference, but.
come to the
but like-
meeting and offer some feedback and maybe, you know, the conversation can be continued.
I mean, they do have
Um,
money. There's money in that owner's
I see that,
contingency,
yeah.
So,
but
and
Just
speaking
swap
of that money, it
classrooms.
would be nice if we could use some of it to take out the old oil tank that is sitting next to the
Yeah.
school and
Oh,
needs to be
still.
removed. And the reason this came about as something to discuss is apparently Michael Farrell is presenting this issue to the bond council. And if the bond council approves of us spending the owner's contingency on the tank removal, and if the school building committee approves, which I'm sure they will, I
yeah,
have
they
no doubt
seem
that
very
they
much
would, of course they
supportive of
would.
that.
Well, how much is that? Did we get a price? I know
Mike's
Mike was
getting
looking.
an estimate on it.
Yeah.
But it's pricey
then-
enough, so
But it
that.
has to be removed, isn't that
Yes,
correct?
it
Or
does.
sealed,
Yes.
like, or,
Yes.
or.
And the Board of Selectmen are, you know, David mentioned it again
Yeah.
at
Oh, yeah,
graduation. I
he's
mean,
on
I think
for it.
everybody's in
Everybody
agreement
wants-
that
wants
it
get
needs to be
removed. It's just a
done.
question of where is the money gonna come from?
Exactly.
And it could come from this source if the bond council approves, so. So then, it was really a very short meeting. So then we went on to the Pembroke, and we discussed the cafeteria audio system, as we previously talked about here. It's gonna be after June 23rd, rewired. Then Rob Hoover had come up with a punch list, a very detailed, helpful punch list of site work that needed to be completed around the Pembroke. And so the contractors are working on his punch list, and
they're
we'll
looking at
hear an updated report on that at the next school building committee meeting. Hydro seeding in the back is still going to take place. A lot of site work is still being done. I mean, the building itself is, you know, pretty well finished, but the site work is not. The fields, we just talked about a schedule for fields to be put into play. The new field is going to be ready for play in the summer or fall of 2017. I'm not sure what
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure.
I think
what-
their preference was the recommendation was fall of 2017
for the new field.
for the two brand new fields, not the north fields, not the refurbished north fields.
The septic field, which I really think needs a new name.
I know.
But
It's
we
the
know-
one.
we
It's
know
the
what we're
one where
talking
the
about.
old.
You could
near
have
the
a
old-
worse name than that.
Near it's the one where the old playground. Where the old playground is the septic field.
Let's hope it doesn't burp and then.
No,
it'll,
it's
No,
not.
I'm not gonna be able to continue. Okay, the septic field will be okay, will be all right for gym classes in the fall or the spring?
Well, that's what we talked about. So in the fall, in the
Of
fall
2016?
of this coming fall,
This coming
the
fall.
septic field now.
Yeah.
So that's just the one area. And they said they do not want to have it sort of used for town use at that point because it's
It'll
gonna,
get ruined.
they're not ready.
Right.
So they're really wanting those to have another growing season, the north fields.
And the north field will be ready for play in spring of 2017.
Right.
That was really the only one that there was
Mhm.
actual agreement on.
Yeah.
Okay. The owner's contingency remains at $8,218. The priority list will be considered in September or October when the bulk of the site work is complete.
Okay.
That's it.
I just want the public to know, we are not happy at all with the grounds. So I don't want anybody to panic and say, oh, they're letting that go, you know,
It's
they're
really
not
in
gonna take
process.
care of it.
It's not finished.
There's still a lot of debate and arguments, frankly. The architects have not signed off and the owners have not signed off on the grounds at this point. So like, for example, when you drive up the road and you see that whole side they're telling me it's flowers, I said, those are clovers, that's weeds, it's not. So they said, well, ask your maintenance guy to mow. You know how sometimes when you see something, it's like groomed, like the maybe first
Yeah.
several feet in, and then the rest of it looks more like a meadow. Mike did it, it just looks like a bunch of weeds. So I'm just gonna, send them a picture of the new, path and say, this is completely unacceptable.
Well, when are they responsible, when is their responsibility done? with the
Not,
grounds?
and when we sign, when everybody signs off on it.
Okay.
So some of the areas that were in question, like the whole kindergarten, right outside the kindergarten, that whole area was all ripped up and all the soil was replaced and it was all reseeded. So there was agreement there, but the other areas around, there's not agreement that they're what we need it to be. So somebody mentioned at the meeting, I think last night, that we haven't been mowing the grounds. That's not been our responsibility. So whoever was responsible for it supposedly mowed it initially, which maybe killed the flowers. That's why we have clovers and weeds. So my opinion is then just rip it up again and put down what's supposed to be there.
Oh, jeez.
Because
That's a
we should not accept that, because it'll,
Okay, right. It's never gonna grow. You'll never have grass
or
there.
it'll just be a weed patch, and
Well, we
then
want
we're not supposed to, and then we're not supposed to mow it, because it was designed to be free growing. That's right, that's the word, that's what they use, natural, supposed to look natural.
Natural
Wildflowers.
agriculture, but
But
it's
it looks-
high today, like even walking to the front of the building where I parked my car,
Yeah,
it was high.
yeah. So one of the things I'm gonna do when I go home tonight is I'm gonna email them and just say, look, you guys we got all these events that are happening, you gotta get somebody over there to mow that stuff. But I just wanna reiterate again, we're not done with that, and people shouldn't get nervous, cause we agree 100% that the grounds do not look the way that they need to look.
Well, I'm sure Mike and his guys probably are feeling like people are thinking
Well,
they're not
yeah,
doing
that's
their
what
job.
that's what he said. He said, they're feeling, I'm feeling like I should go out there and try to do something more with it, but, short of taking the weed whacker and cutting everything down, which is obviously not gonna be possible, we're just gonna have to keep working on it.
Okay. We already talked about CPAC. Okay, the next item is an updated school choice vote.
Yes.
So we voted to open up 10 slots at the high school,
Yeah.
not the middle school. And we got 13 interested parties, so the thought is to allow those additional students to enter into the school, one at grade, two at grade 9, no, 2 at 10 and 1 at grade 9.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah, 11 ninth graders, right?
And Peter, is that your recommendation?
My recommendation was 10, right?
Originally you said 10 at each grade, and then we said we were gonna,
9 and 10? Yeah, we have room.
You do have room. Okay.
There's a difference between having room and that being your recommendation.
yeah, that's a good question.
absolutely.
We don't love taking kids after the 9th grade.
Yeah, so we talked about that. This is two 10th graders.
It's harder to fit in what they're bringing to us into our curriculum. But we do. After the 10th grade, I would say absolutely.
No, I agree with that.
Okay. Okay, well, I would like to
I
make.
recommend it.
Okay.
All right, well, then I would like to make a motion to approve the opening of 11 ninth grade seats and 2 10th grade seats for the 2016-2017 school year. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or?
When is the deadline, or when is it happening? Or when are we telling people that they're in, or what's the rest of the timeline?
Now.
So you're not anticipating any more coming in?
We might, but the deadline that we had set has passed.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for them to say they're coming and then they don't come.
Yeah, that's what happens. You send the letter to them and say they're
Okay.
accepted, and they'll say, oh, well, we've got another plan now.
Okay,
or something.
gotcha.
So, all
Yeah, that's
those-
true. That does happen. That's true, Peter.
Okay.
All those in favor? Or are we ready to vote?
I think there might be some more discussion. I
Oh,
don't know.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
looking at the
I don't- yeah, I don't
body
know.
language. It looks like maybe there's.
I don't know, that felt like a weird answer.
Which answer?
Which answer felt weird?
In terms of the timeline, in terms of, I mean, are the 13, do they know that they're being accepted? Or are they still waiting to hear are those three,
The honest-
essentially as of
Can I hear
today,
the
do we have a
ideas?
lottery versus we pass this and we don't have a lottery? I guess really is my question.
We don't have a lottery. We don't have a need for a lottery.
If we pass this.
Correct. Correct.
Because those are the only ones, the timeline's gone,
That's right.
the final date is gone, so those are the amount that we got, the 13.
Okay. But so if it was accepted, does there become a lottery, or we just accept them all?
This is,
Yeah, we're
this,
just accepting
We're
the
accepting the
13,
applications that we have on hand.
that's correct.
essentially.
That's,
the additional 3.
correct. That's a good way to describe it.
Are we ready to vote?
Pam wants to vote.
All those in favor? No?
Nay.
Aye. All those in favor? Aye. Two. Okay, all those not in favor?
Nay.
Nay.
We're in trouble. Warning you. I think we've told people that, based on the previous conversation that we had.
I got 3 to 2.
You changed.
Oh, Michael said nay.
You said nay?
Yeah. I didn't change.
Sounded like yay.
Oh, no.
No, I heard nay.
3 to 2.
Well, I don't know. I didn't hear I don't know what Jim.
Suzanne?
Yay. Yes.
Yeah, okay. Then now you have 3 to 2. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that, Suzanne.
Okay.
So next year, let's hope that our budget does not need to be dependent on taking school choice students. I feel like I have to say that. Unfortunately, we built the budget assuming that there were 10 school choice slots. And I don't think we want to be cutting $50,000 more at this stage. I'd rather not have to be in that position again next year, so hopefully the town will understand that.
At the risk of belaboring a point, it sounded like if we voted no, that was going to be a problem because people had already heard.
Correct, because of a previous conversation that we had had. So
Okay.
that's where we ran into trouble. But I'm just making the point that regardless of that,
Okay.
10 school choice is what we built on.
And again, we
So
might not
really-
get all of them coming.
Right, exactly. What
But just for future,
can-
I would appreciate nothing being done until the
I
school
would agree
committee
100%.
takes a vote. That would be appreciated.
Okay, okay, that's fine.
Okay, motion carries. So, new business. We have revised policy, background checks.
This is just a revised policy based on something new that came to us through MASC. And we had to add just some procedural, well, actually, saying just some, a lot of procedural things.
Because the original one is definitely not this long.
No, it's crazy. All this stuff, it starts like, determining suitability was always there.
That's what we worked on.
But all this stuff on secondary dissemination, really, probably the last, would you say, guys, the last 4 or so pages?
Is it possible for the non-governance folks, namely me, to highlight, underline, some way suggest what the difference is rather than?
Sure, we can do that. We generally do if it's a new policy.
Yeah,
But you know what, so,
revised,
that's
just to be
a
able to
good
see
point.
what's
That's a good point,
expectations.
Michael. We can do that, for sure. Yep, we can definitely do that.
yeah. What I did is I went into my thing and got the original one out.
Right.
It was.
Yeah, but
quite-
you
Oh, yeah.
probably shouldn't have to do that. We can do that for you, so that
But
can
yeah,
make
that
that.
would be.
I'll like highlight it,
Okay.
when, yeah.
Yeah.
Old version, new version.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
would
like we
be,
do with the new.
yeah, that would be no problem.
Yeah, Laura usually does that.
Yeah, but sometimes I think when it's a revised policy, it's not necessarily, so, but we can definitely do that. That'd be easy. Well, I shouldn't say easy, right, Laura, but it would be possible.
Okay, so, I will make a motion to approve policy ADDA background checks as presented.
So moved. Second.
Discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we have to talk about some summer, meeting, dates. We do have to, we have Guy and Hope that need to come to go over the crisis manual. So we need to have a meeting in, July. We were looking at the end of July.
Joan is asking to have it as late as you can.
Because somebody's going to Puerto Rico on a cruise?
Not me.
Not me. Oh, that's probably me. That's potentially me.
No, because we're closing out, so I like to have it as late in July as possible.
So, no, you know how funny, I didn't put it in. So the 28th was one date that was thrown out there. Can people
July
do the-
28th?
Can people do the
Yes.
28th?
Yeah.
I may be away that whole week.
Okay, well, that's all right, if we haven't.
And you're
if we
going
have-
you're going away after,
I'm
Barbie,
going
right?
after,
Okay.
yeah.
So the 28th, we can pencil that in?
Michael, does that work
Yeah,
for you?
yeah, sorry.
So that's fine, Cheryl, if you.
Okay, but
Okay.
there's a possibility that I might be here, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we have a quorum, as far as we know. At this point in time,
Okay,
we
so
do.
that's gonna be school committee.
And then August 25th.
Oh, on the back, all right.
Which works for me.
Yeah, same here.
Well, that's easy.
Hey, Joan, on the closing out stuff, I know the closing out on the revolving accounts is tricky because there's a lot of carryover. When do we actually get a good picture of how those, because those accounts are
We didn't
really
vote on it
important
yet.
this year?
No, we haven't.
Oh, yeah, sorry, I interrupted. When are we gonna have accurate, sort of like, close out year-end numbers that reflect?
It'll be in July,
That would
because
be
we have to
July,
have
okay.
the last payroll posted. Because we
Oh,
have a lot
okay.
of salaries posted
Right.
to the revolving account. So
Right.
it'll be, I can present it all to you on the 28th
Okay.
of July. I mean, we could probably know the 15th of July, if you wanted to stop in or whatever. But it will be at that meeting.
Well,
that I
maybe
would
we
give
could
you all
have
that
a budget finance.
Yeah, you could do
Yeah.
it, we can do it at
At
budget
some
and
point.
finance.
Just I know a lot of those are
Tight.
tricky.
They're tight.
They're tight, and we're still learning our new numbers. And
Oh,
those
that's
accounts
right.
are the
Did
most
that
difficult.
all- Did that all go smoothly? As smoothly
Going.
as we might have.
Yeah, it's
wanted
going.
to?
But we still don't
We're
have
giving
any
it the
information on
college try,
kindergarten,
let's say that.
right?
No, we haven't
Nothing
heard about the
from
kindergarten grant yet.
No,
Okay.
no, I don't know what, I'm trying to think of when we might hear about that. Well, actually, it's in well, it's
Midnight on June
it's in,
30th.
it's, yeah, June
Unless
30th.
unless they vote a 1/12 budget and we don't hear till July.
It's in conference, right? So it
Yeah.
should be,
We haven't heard
it'll be
any-
before the 30th.
I think.
Still have
The
to
state
vote.
approved their final budget on June 30th.
Sometimes they
But
go for a
it's
1/12
amazing.
budget though. Sometimes they don't.
They do, I know, but I don't
Sometimes
think
they go
will.
for a 1/12 budget in July.
I don't
Move the
think they
clock.
will, though. I don't think there's that
Seems to
much
me.
change.
I don't understand why they don't.
So I will make a
Okay,
motion
so
to designate July 28th and August 25th as the summer meeting dates.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. Okay. All right, the agenda seems to be done, so at this point in time, there is no reason to.
Oh, then you gotta accept the PTA donation.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't, oh,
yes.
That's a big one.
That is a big one.
We have to order the things tomorrow.
That's very
Yes.
exciting.
So the Georgetown PTA, now, was the GEF involved too? Okay,
Not in
'cause
this
my
particular
okay.
donation. They
So
were involved in our
when you
meeting
sent me
and.
the email,
yeah.
right, it mentioned them too, so,
Yes.
okay. So the PTA donated $26,500, which is amazing.
Fantastic.
For the entire, for all the Apple TVs that we
Yeah,
needed. We thought that
basically we
originally it
should
was
have
just gonna
enough
be a
now, right?
portion.
Yeah.
Yep,
So-
everybody will have.
Yeah, that was pretty fantastic of them to do that. They're a great organization, and not only are they a great organization, the community that supports it is even,
Yeah.
you know, they have a lot to do with this donation too. So I just want to thank them for their hard work and dedication to the schools and to the organization. So with gratitude, I will make a motion to approve the donation from the Georgetown PTA for $26,500 as presented.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
It's awesome.
Very kind of
It's
them.
outstanding.
There's one other thing.
September 8th meeting needs to get changed.
Oh, we need to change the September 8th,
September
right,
one.
because of the
Election.
election day. So,
September
September
Yes.
8th.
Yeah, because
Primary.
there's a primary.
Primary.
We had to switch all of our PD days around the elections.
Right, we did that, yeah.
We did.
So, can we do the 7th?
Do whatever day.
Because it says
a
open third
Wednesday.
floor, right?
Oh, does it? I don't.
It says open third, so I'm
Yeah, so you
assuming
could
that
do it
this is
that week,
open.
yeah. But you gotta book it now before somebody else books it.
Yeah, so does
looks like
Wednesday work
Wednesday.
for you, for everybody, Pam?
What date?
September 7th, it's a Wednesday.
No, I was just
I
confused.
don't see why not.
It's hard to know in September, what September's gonna bring, right? So book it on the calendar now.
For that, then Laura, can we do that? So,
September 7th.
make a motion to change the September 8th school committee meeting of 2016 to September 7th, 2016.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. Okay, Laura, is that good? Yep. Okay. All right, so at this time, there is no reason to go into an executive session, so we will be adjourning the meeting at 9:50 PM.
That was the 8th.
Aye.
Is it, make a motion? Second. I made a motion.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
so.
All in favor?
You're off.
Aye.
You're off.
You're
You're off. You're off. You didn't even get a chance to.